I think we should start with our favorite part of the chapter. We usually do not skip ahead, but I think today we're
Uh-huh.
going to make an exception to that rule. So I want to talk to you, Par, all about that cover page story. Because my God, man, is it fire this week.
Uh-huh.
Yamato gave a hat to Kawamatsu. Brother, dude, she completed her mission, her second mission. It's like a side quest in an MMO. Isn't that cool?
Mm-hmm. What'd she unlock?
Um, Nothing, just pure experience points, really. She's kind of smurfing when
It,
you think about it.
you didn't even like the meta is supposed to be it's you gain favorability points with the character or whatever. Like
Yeah.
yeah. That's what Yamato did with Tama, so it's useless. But Tama's like the variable card that helps you beat the boss in the last stage. So the more favorability, the more like help she gives her a better tool. Um yeah, I mean, wait, we did so I didn't look back, but I like vaguely remembered. Did we always know that Tama was making this hat for Kawamatsu?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was like 3 to 4 weeks ago. Tama was like, "Hey, can you give this hat to Kawamatsu?" And then, boom, it was like a side quest just triggered right there. So, yeah, I was hoping that this just happened last week off screen when we saw Kawamatsu in the background. But
Yeah.
shout outs to this mythical Kappa that got a hat from a little girl. Dude, I learned a
Yeah.
little bit about Kappas the other day. I was playing a game called Labyrinth of the Demon King, and there's this thing called Shirokodama that Kappas love. And I was like, what is that? And it was like this weird, like,
Ball
ball
of
looking thing. And,
uh-huh.
I looked it up, and apparently it is the soul of a human that is
Yeah.
often found in a human's anus. So usually what Kappas will do is they'll drag you underwater and scoop your butthole out. And that is a Shirokodama. So I learned something pretty interesting. Yeah, so if you ever see a Kappa, like, I'm gonna be, ooh, my guard's gonna be up. I know why the people of Wano were trying to kill Kawamatsu now. I think it all makes sense. If you heard that a butthole monster was off the coast of your island, would you not go over there and shoot him? I know I would.
I think I just realized the origin of this myth now.
Where? What's the
So
origin?
like I'm not saying that we in today's society we necessarily accept the backdoor method of,
Yeah.
for YouTube purposes, I'll just say Lana backwards. I'll just say Lana. You guys know what that means, or am I allowed to say the word on?
I don't know, dude.
Probably.
I try to keep it pretty PG here. Every now and
Yeah,
then I'll say like, I'll say ass, but that's only if I'm getting kind of crazy.
yeah. I'll just say backdoor method because
Yeah,
I feel
there we
like
go.
that one might switch. Because like curse words and then like sexual terminology is kind of in different categories.
I don't even
So
think you can say the word sexual on YouTube.
oh, what? No, you could definitely say that. I don't think that gets demon. Like, I think the sponsors would be like, if the guy says this word 3 times, then it's categorized as
It's
like
like how
a
TikTok, they usually add little quirky words in place of other things, like, oh, he didn't
yeah,
kill himself, he sewer slided. It's like, huh?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he offed
Those things,
himself. Ha
yeah,
ha ha. It's stuff like
yeah.
that, and people are like, I hate it when people do this, but it's like, well, I mean,
They play the algorithm.
yeah, they have to. I mean, I can't even hate it. It's stupid, yes, but they have to. But
Yeah.
you were saying?
Um. Yeah. So like in today's society, if you were talking to a friend and they just brought up that the backdoor method, it's not that like, oh shit, that that's interesting, right? But back in the day, cultures around the world kind of look down on the backdoor method from a religious standpoint, cultural standpoint, cleanliness. There's a lot of
I don't
different
get it,
reasons.
man. The back door is
And,
so fun.
okay, well, see, that's what I'm talking about. And so what I'm now thinking is that in Japan, people who did the backdoor method, that was like Japan would call them kappas, or probably like that's where
Oh, it's like a
like that.
slur word, huh?
Yeah, like they would try to demonize So like if you told, because you would tell children about the story about the kappa, right? And then it gets to the thing like, oh, and they suck out your booty hole, and then the kids are like, oh my god, that's what kappas do. Ah! And then they grow up, and then they like start exploring, and they're like, but I'm not gonna be a kappa. You know what I mean? That's some kappa shit. You know, that's some yucky. That's some swamp people type business.
Yeah, it's like
right?
telling your
Like,
kid about the boogeyman.
yeah, except it's like deterring the because like that's such a specific place for them to suck your soul out
I
of.
don't
like,
know, man. There's so many like random cryptids in America and around the world, I bet, that just have the weirdest lore. So Kappa sucking the soul of a human out of their butthole, like that's, yeah, it's a little bit odd, I will admit, but I bet there's weirder ones if we really looked.
No, I agree, but what I'm saying is that these stories, a lot of time, you gotta wonder who's the demographic that you're telling. The boogeyman, you're scaring little kids to stay.
Here's the thing.
Don't wander into the forest.
No. Back in the day, the number one consumer of these scary stories, it wasn't kids. It was grown men
With kids
that had kids. But overall, like, imagine this, right? No TV, no football. And, you know, you were just going to war. You know, you're constantly fighting the Vietnamese. You're hearing the hoo-ha in the trees, and you're like, where are they? So you would just tell scary stories left and right. Like, that's your form of entertainment. You know, you're saddled around a campfire with the boys, and some guy tells you about a butthole monster. You know, you're not going to make it back home to tell your kids about that. You're dead. So the thing is that I think that generally the people who consume these monster stories, the yokai stories, the Bigfoot stories, it's usually just grown men in the middle of the woods. So I think that maybe this is like a way to stave off people from attacking your booty hole at night.
That is true. It's basically, long story short, I think now it's pretty, now we know kappas were just propaganda against people who did it, like the backdoor method.
You know, it's funny how we got here, because I'm thinking about it now. Kawamatsu isn't a kappa, right?
Not really.
Yeah, I feel like we had this. Yeah, we had this conversation I think 2 weeks ago, and I was just super shocked by that info. But I mean, if you look at him, right, like, can you really see anything other than a kappa? Like, my God, dude, like, look at this thing.
It's his mom. His mom was just like, "Hey, don't do that stuff, Kawamatsu."
Kawamatsu, you must have heard stories about what we might allegedly do. Don't do it. Please don't do it.
Now that I think about it, his mom was just like, "Oh, we can't show up as fishmen. You have to masquerade as the booty hole." Imagine she didn't like, not imagine, like she just didn't know that thing, and then she finds out later. She's just like, oh no, what did I do?
Yeah, dude, I'm looking at the Japanese pufferfish right now because that's what Kawamatsu is. They're not even green. Why'd they make Kawamatsu green?
For the kappa.
I mean, yeah, but surely there's like a green fish out there in the world, right? Green fish. Yeah, look, there's a lot of green fish. Oh my God, there's millions. Yeah, make Kawamatsu one of those.
Millions.
Dude, the ocean is vast, brother.
Green fish. I look up green fish, and the first thing that comes up is a cartoon fish.
Well, yeah, because you're not typing in the actual species name, you know. Of course, you just type in green fish. That's like a kid search.
I typed in green fish. The second wiki, because the first one isn't loading fast enough. No, the first one. Oh no. The second one is a Korean crime film. Greenfish.
Ooh, look up a fish called the Dorado.
The Dorado.
Yeah, the Dorado fish.
Dorado.
Like, they're generally green, and they got like the craziest like Beavis butthead looking head. Dude, Kawamatsu should have been one of these guys. Oh man.
Oh. Yeah, this is a good one.
Yeah,
wait,
dude.
Wait.
What's up?
Dorado is mahi-mahi?
Yes.
Isn't that the sushi?
Mahi-mahi is not sushi. It's just a nice quality fish that people typically eat at restaurants.
Yeah, but isn't it like mahi? Wait, what? Isn't mahi mahi like tuna? Mahi mahi? I know nothing about fish. I don't order
Yeah, me
fish
neither,
that
actually.
often, but huh?
Wait, is mahi mahi tuna?
I thought mahi
No, it's
mahi
not tuna.
was
I was about to say like it. It's funny because you sounded right, but I was like, huh? Wait. It's
yeah,
not tuna. I just looked it up.
but yeah, no, but I feel like I've seen that on like a menu, like mahi mahi tuna, like
I think you're thinking about
Dorados.
bluefin tuna.
Mm.
Possibly. I mean, all these
Dorados,
colors, man,
golden.
they're getting mixed up. Green, blue, purple, pufferfish.
Dude, this fish, the Dorado, eats flying fish. That's kind of
Yeah, dude, the
sick.
Dorado is massive. You guys, if you are listening in right now, do yourself a favor, look up the Dorado. That could be a crazy ass fishman. Oh, brother. If we go back in time with King Harald and stay with him for a while, if he goes to Fishman Island, I want to see some of these dudes walking around. Imagine the Dorados just pulling up. Oh, yeah, they're going to be a menace, man.
Who cares about those dosundadas? Let me see some mahi mahis, bro.
Exactly, man. Where
The
they
mahi
at?
mahi men.
So what's kind of fun about this cover page story is at least this one in particular. It's page 1 and Ulti. I love just seeing them in the background hanging out. And I wish we had dialogue in this because I want to see what Kawamatsu and the gang thinks about the Toby Roppo being here. Like, do you think Kawamatsu was like freaked out at first? Like, they're gonna kill me. Oh my god, is this the girl that's stronger than Katakuri?
That's nice reference. I like that.
Thank you.
Shout outs. It's funny you say that because I had wanted to see Kawamatsu. I wanted Kawamatsu to get his own page, but not like this. Like this page is you said it best. It's like I thought would have been off screen. Like it's almost so not important because like it's telegraphed like 2 different ways. We already knew that the hat was for Kawamatsu, but then we also it's like yes, they're gonna meet and say hi. Like that's literally what's happening here. They're saying hi. That's it. And it's like we could have done like a more actionable thing, like Kawamatsu surprise, like some like you were saying what's the next conflict, right? Like previously we saw Inuyasha, his fiefdom was like having women being stolen and it was setting up the who's who thing. So like what are we gonna get now to set up Sasaki, Black Maria? Like surely they're gonna be involved, stuff like that. Maybe it starts here, and it most likely will. But it's just so funny because this is like basically filler, and something like what you said. It's like literally Alti and page 1 are next to Kawamatsu. Keep in mind, Kawamatsu was in prison for like how many years for these guys? Like maybe he never even saw them. Maybe that's why he has no animosity to them because he was locked up the entire time, right? Like
yeah, I mean, I feel like if I was a Toby Roppo member, like what else would you do though? Like I would tour Udon Prison probably like once a day. Like if I was just running around Wano, I would visit Udon Prison. And maybe you'd be like, oh my god, let me see that, mysterious Kappa monster. Which, now that I think about it, if you're a Beast Pirate member, would Kawamatsu not be like a petting zoo animal? Like you'd be like, oh my god, like let me go see this guy. No,
because they were because they remember he had so much aura that they didn't even know what he looked like.
Which was a little bit stupid, I will admit. I mean, obviously anime logic, but yes, I remember. You could not visit Kawamatsu or go near him while he's eating because he'll spit a fish bone at you and kill you. But the thing
you're supposed to
that,
debone the fish. You're supposed to
you're supposed to debone his fish or else he'll do that. But the thing is that I would probably just starve Kawamatsu at that point. Like if you have a prison over here killing the guards, just starve him, dude. Like why would you keep him around? And it's not like Jack, or not Jack, but it's not like Ashura Doji where Kaido's trying to recruit him to the team. Like Kawamatsu's just an anomaly.
And this is I've been saying that I have a video. I was like, that's a little Kawamatsu got the 1-of-1 treatment. Ain't nobody was being fed like that. Yes, it was like poisonous fish, but like the fact that he didn't have to work.
No,
why not?
Nope.
You're telling me you couldn't subjugate Kawamatsu? Like what are we talking about?
And it's crazy. Like you give him poison fish so that he could die, But at the same time, he hasn't died in years. Brother, stop feeding him. Just that is a surefire way to kill him. Oh, yes, if we poison him, he's going to die soon. Ha ha ha. No, just don't feed him. I mean, it's that simple. What are we doing here, guys? Come on.
And I brought the point up.
I need some lessons in torture.
It's a super odd position for Kawamatsu to be in because he is a bona fide scabbard, and Orochi wanted them dead. And so for some reason, Kawamatsu existed in an anomaly situation where he wasn't joining the Beast Pirates. He wasn't subjugated to slave labor. And so like on Kaido's end, Kaido wanted them to be strong people to join the crew or to do labor to break their will. Kawamatsu did neither. Orochi wanted the scabbards dead, and he wasn't dead. So somehow,
oh my god,
he had the best treatment.
Yeah, and I didn't even think about this, but the calamities, Jack, King, and Queen, they know Kawamatsu. They fought him in the past when he was with Odin. So it's not like, oh, like they didn't know that he was a part of the Scabbards. No, they know he was a part of the Scabbards. And Queen 100%. Was at Udon prison. What do you mean? Yeah. There's just a mysterious prisoner that looks like a Kappa that kills people. Like, what, brother? You're right. The more I think about it, the more odd Kawamatsu's entire story is. Do you think he's an op? Do you think he's like an industry plant?
Nah, I said it. The funny enough, there's a video. I forget which video it is, to be honest.
You have a video on Kawamatsu?
Well, it's basically it's talking about how Kaido had preferential treatment for fishmen, and Jack was one of them, and then Kawamatsu. And Kawamatsu's like, it makes no sense. The treatment that he got, like you're bringing up, I don't think I even brought it up, is that Queen was there. You can't convince me that Queen couldn't just kill him, beat his ass around. Like, what the? No, Kawamatsu loses, especially starved, poisoned Kawamatsu is not beating Queen. No. And then so it's like, why for that many years, no slave, like he didn't subjugate him to slave labor. The only person, and he's a fish. And it's like, that had to be Kaido, because if it was Orochi would just have him killed. So it had to be Kaido being like, all right, don't put him to work. And it's like, wait, why, Kaido? Don't worry about it. And it's like, wait, why do you treat Jack like a son, but like, you know, you don't really do that with anyone else around here? And then, you know, and then it's like, well, Jack's a fish too. What? Jack's a fish? I thought he was an elephant. Not that guy can breathe underwater. I don't know. It's weird because, you know, it doesn't feel like Oda's gonna do much with that like plane of existence with like Kaido and Fishman, especially where we're at now. But you know, at the time in Onigashima, it was just like, it always is just like a weird thing. Like, why Kawamatsu is held differently like that?
Yeah, it's like
so
a chin
weird.
Scratcher.
Yeah. Something. I mean, also, I talk about this too. Like, Oda gave Kawamatsu one of the most interesting regions, because one, we never visited Hakumai, but this is also the port region. So this is where the port town down to the ancient Wano is. Then this is where like also the closest to where Onigashima was. And then also I have a video talking about this in regards to Pluton, because Hakumai means white rice. But specifically, the way it was written, it could also be said white dance. And so I'm like, is Nika coded? Rain dance coded?
I thought we were going to go back to like the OG theory that Yamato is paralleling Odin's journey. So she's going to dance naked, and she's the white dance.
I'm not. You know what? That's a close second. Actually, that might be a first. I like.
There's one guy, he heard that theory once, and now he comments that on like almost every other video I have, where he's like, we're one chapter closer to Yamato dancing like Odin. Ha ha ha. Naked Yamato's around the corner, guys. And I'm like, dude, that's so funny.
The Yamato dance thing, funny, because we talk about like, it has to parallel Odin. When are we gonna get? Ooh. But I thought you were talking about the white dance and referring to Yamato dancing naked. And I'm like, the guy coined that and has been typing that. That's crazy.
Yeah, dude.
If he'd said that, I'd side with him. I'd be like, you know what?
He's cooking,
that's
man.
What the white dance means.
He's cooking. But now that you mention it, I love that you brought that up, because I forgot all about it. But you're right. Hakumai is the port town. It is close to Onigashima in the water. Maybe next week, volume 37, we will see Kaido and Big Mom pop out of the waters and attack Hakumai.
Hey,
dude, you guys heard it here first. 37. That's a lucky number in some countries. Here it is. Yamato's journey is about to get a little bit exciting. I can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really guess where we're going next, but like, yeah, I don't even know.
Anywhere's better than here.
Yeah, it's interesting also because like the last cover story series that we got with the Germa stuff, the end of it like spiraled into like this great, like Stussy was in there, Vegapunk story got pushed in there. And then we saw the Neo, like early Mads, and then Neo Mads was formed in the cover story. Like,
oh yeah,
like that's some next level of cover story right there, right? And yes, like I get it, guys. There's a growing growing movement or faction of people that dislike this cover story series, but it's like, it is Wano. Like, Oda could just end it with some wild ass shit, like literally even from here, Pluton, Kaido, Big Mom, all in the same bucket, right? Like Sai saying, like, you know, as crazy as bringing Kaido and Big Mom's name in the next cover story, that would kind of be the equivalent of what happened in the Germa thing, right? Where it's like, what was Germa closely associated to? Mads. Okay, who was on Mads? Vegapunk. And then we got some insane story about that, right? So Kaido, Big Mom, they stumble upon Pluton, and then we get a flashback of their early Rocks days, and then they learn about like the ancient weapons there. Like, we could do something like that, you know? I don't. It's not completely out there. It just is weird feeling, given that like this cover story feels like there's so much filler. Whereas the German one didn't. The German one was like, I still remember I think it's 3 chapters in a row. The people were talking more about the cover story than they were the chapter. Not because the chapter was bad. It was just like, whose shoes are these? Do you see the squiggles? That's Blackbeard's crew, you know. And we were wrong, we were right, whatever. But a lot of people were talking about that, and those were like those were the less significant cover story pages of that series. The shoes one, the next one, because like we didn't really know what was happening. And then the next, like I say, insignificant in the sense that like it was cut together or sandwiched together by like Germa being experimented on and Caesar making Katakuri high off of ganja. Like, that's some crazy cover story, you know? Like, the equivalent here is like Yamato watching Ulti get like brutalized for mad long and waiting many cover stories to save her ass, right? Like, that's what we're sandwiching it by. But yeah, not too sure with 37, but hey, Sai, like you said, lucky number.
Yeah, lucky number 37. And, you know, not just Kaido and Big Mom. We could get Blackbeard. You know, we could get, you know, Buggy even. There's so many people we could get here in this cover page story. And, you know, Oda, we know that he's definitely waiting for something. Like you said, Wano is a powder cake. It's just waiting to explode. So any day now, this is going to go from like a 2 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10. One thing that's kind of funny is that, you know, we'll talk about this more later too, but time dilation or the perception of time on Elbaf might be a little bit skewed. We'll get to that later. But what if there was a chapter where in the cover page story, Oda does like a little bit of a trick out. He has Yamato leaving Wano, or maybe Yamato thinking about leaving Wano, and then in that same chapter, Yamato shows up in Elbaf. And the reason that feels so weird is because of time dilation, right? Like the perception of time. And this cover page is actually 3 days in the past or something like that. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
like,
That'd
whoa,
be
Yamato on the
that'd be
cover page.
crazy.
Wait, what? Yamato's here? How?
Yeah. 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 And then we put the main story into the cover story. And no, wait, no, Yamato is now the main
No,
story.
I was about to say that's when we switch over to Kaido and Big Mom. That's when they take over. Yeah.
Or Oda just adds the cover story as an extra page to the manga for like a few chapters.
Yeah, finally, man, add some
nuts.
dialogue to this. Also, I like how we have the Yokozuna in the background on the cover page, smiling, just so that we know that there's no hard feelings. Like, he's just cool.
Yeah, he doesn't even look Japanese there. He looks like Mario's older brother.
He looks like a descendant of, like, a Mongolian.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I could see it.
Yeah, like, he's about to go kill, what's that one girl again? It's like
Mulan?
the Disney prince. Yeah, Mulan, yeah. He looks like he's about to go kill Mulan.
I was like, the only girl Sai has eyes for. The Chinese.
The Chinese! So,
one girl.
On to the first page of the chapter, we finally see the infamous Elbaf lift we have been looking forward to for years now. And it turns out that it is a boat strapped to some chains. It's a little pulley system.
Yeah.
Cool stuff, man. I mean, you know, we've been looking forward to this, and here we have it. It's a wooden boat.
Yeah,
it's nice.
It's motorized.
Is it? It looks like they're just gonna heave ho it.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I just realized there's no like, because like I was comparing it to Marriage Raw and how like they don't have chain rope, they just have like rope, but they use the Sabaody bubbles because they have the trees there.
Yeah.
And that raises them. Wait a second, I just realized it's not just a boat. It's a double boat. It's a boat and the roof is an upside down boat.
Yeah. I'm assuming to like protect you from falling debris.
Yeah, but why boat shaped?
I mean, Elbaf craftsmanship, man. They're special ones.
Yeah. This is so, because it's like they're like, we need to build a roof, and then they just like, what if we take a boat and flip it upside down? Like, it's just like, that works. And they even have, it looks like it has seats up there too. I wonder if it's like that's the economy seat. Like if this is business class down here, and then
you don't pay while you go up there.
Yeah. Only the girls can sit up there. Maybe that's what it is.
What's interesting is that Loki actually will not fit on that boat either, right?
True.
Loki's way too big for that. So I think this is soft confirmation that Loki can fly.
Oh, no. It's easy. He just rides the top of the boat.
Oh, you're right. I mean, I feel like he would break the chains, man. He's just too heavy.
You're saying that
it's
Loki's
like how,
the breaker of chains? That's Daenerys.
That's pretty good. Oh my god. No. Like, but you know, like in roller coasters, they're like, oh, like if you weigh over 500 pounds, you cannot hop aboard.
I've never heard that. But
you want to get on the tilt-a-wheel? Sorry, Tammy. You still weigh 600 pounds.
Tammy.
Yeah, dude. Like, I feel like there's got to be a weight limit. If there's no weight limit, then they're just dumb, right? Like, surely they stress test it.
Yeah, but like, it's not like Loki's the only big one. Like Yaro's big. Harald is big. If your lift can't fit the king, then you got problems, right?
Or you could say that the king should never go down to the underworld. Why would a king go among the riffraff?
Okay, but Harald has he looks like he's from the underworld. Like,
whoa! Don't say that too loudly, Par. They're gonna cut your head off, dude.
Are they? I think they would cut Harald's head off first. Apparently.
Shoot, we don't know what's going on with Harald, man. He's the benevolent king. Why would you do that?
Doesn't look like it.
Oh, we'll see. Maybe he's really nice. Maybe he's got a good smile. We've never seen him smile.
Yeah, apparently all the good things that Harald done is all Saul's fault anyways. He needed Saul to start a school.
I mean, But what if Harald was the substitute teacher? Like if Saul was ever
He's
sick,
like
it's like, King
Harold-
Harold's coming over, guys. This is great.
Harold's definitely PE teacher coded.
I think you're just judging him based off his appearance, and it's kind of mean.
Yes. And
Yeah, that's true. Fair enough. If
You
it looked
literally
like
said-
it, I mean, go for it.
500-pound weight limit, Tammy. Oh, what are we doing there, Sai?
I don't know, man.
Tammy's
So
just look like they can't ride roller coasters.
we go on, and Scopper says, Luffy, make a mental note of how you use your color of the Supreme King. They are not immortal, referring to the Holy Knights. And Luffy just says, thanks, I got it. I'm going to save Colin and everyone else. So he doesn't really say how to hurt the Holy Knights. He simply just points us in that direction, right? I wish he kind of just dropped one more line saying, hey, Luffy, use your conqueror's Haki like this. But no, he didn't do that. It's like,
This translation is worse, not in the sense of like quality wise, in the sense of my complaint was like he told us what it was, but like he didn't. And this is be mindful the way you use conqueror's Haki. Those guys are by no means immortal. And then here it says, make a mental note of how you use your cock. They are not immortal. What? Like that's like even more vague. How did that happen?
I mean, that's the thing, right? Like Scopper can't tell you everything. Like I like this, you know. He says, hey, like essentially get out there and find out yourself, but I'm gonna give you a hint. No, I think that's a W, right? Like Scopper's leaving it up to the next generation. He doesn't want to steal away the fun. I bet when Scopper, Rayleigh, and Roger were finding the Holy Knights, they didn't have any hints. And guess what? I bet they smiled by the end of it. So yeah, he wants Luffy to have fun with it. And then plus, this is enough. Even Loki says, you've helped me see the sense of it, Gabon. Like that is enough for them. Like what if Luffy also says, yep, you know, I've literally got it. I know what to do now.
I think memes aside, if Roger, Rayleigh, Scopper were fighting and they were trying to figure out how to hurt their opponent, they wouldn't just do like sign language charades mid-fight and be like, no, because then we'd get the Zoro, Luffy, and Seraphim moment where they were like, Zoro was just like, yes, when their flames are down, they're weaker. Then we could damage them. And Luffy and Lucci were like, what the fuck? You couldn't tell us that before? Why wouldn't you tell us this at the start of all of this, right? And that's what it feels like Scopper is like low-key doing right now. And I just don't get like, because like Luffy doesn't understand what's happening, right? Because why would he, like, he just learned about the Holy Knights in passing almost, right? There's not really, even if I were in Luffy's situation, I wouldn't immediately think Holy Knight and the Gorosei that I just fought, they're of the same vein. You know what I mean? Because where Luffy's standing, it's like, why would I, like, what do you mean? I didn't even think that they were immortal. I just thought that they kept regenerating. Like, all this is not necessarily intuitive explanation, right? And so him even saying this, make a mental note of how you use color of the Supreme King, they're not immortal. It's not like Luffy has fought the Holy Knights yet, so it's like he doesn't even know what context Scopper is even relating this to. You know what I mean?
I disagree. Because have you ever read or watched Baki?
Okay. I watched it, yeah.
Yeah, do you remember the scene where Baki, he's preparing to fight Pickles, the caveman, and he's like, I have to imagine what it's like to fight Pickles. So he goes down to the basement, and then he imagines, like, a velociraptor coming at him, and he's just, like, shadow boxing a velociraptor. It's like that. Like, who's to say that in Luffy's head, he isn't running out, like, 50,000 different simulations where he's fighting these Holy Knights? And I say 50,000 because, like, Luffy doesn't know what they look like you said. So Luffy's, like, adding, oh, this guy's head, that body shape, you know, that ability, and he's just like, Like, I think Luffy knows exactly what he's going to go up to. I bet you, when he goes up and he sees Sommers, Emu, and killing him, he's going to be like, I've won this battle 50 times in my mind. We meet again, Sommers.
That reminds me of
it could happen.
The UFC John Jones versus I forgot, Nagano, I think it was. And like just to paraphrase shorthand the story, it was like a very scary fight for John Jones, who was the UFC heavyweight champion or whatever, and so he did a thing that he never did before, which is he started the fight and he started gorilla walking up to the guy, and the guy was just like, what the fuck, he's never done this before, and that threw him through a loop. And so and because like he's never seen this guy fight like this before, one, and then two, it was just like, what is he gonna do? Why is he gorilla walking at me? And then John Jones, after the interview, said, yeah, I played this fight a million times in my dreams, and this was the only way I didn't die. And that's why he did it. And people made a meme saying even his dreams are telling him this is the Doctor Strange one time.
Dude, that's perfect. And yes, and that's what's happening with Luffy, you know? He's running through the simulations. And also, I just had a cursed thought, because you said gorilla walking, and we're talking about the lift in Loki. I was like, yeah, this could like soft confirm that he can fly up to the Sun Realm. But what if Loki does the opposite, and he actually starts crawling up the tree like a lizard?
Or even scarier, you know, like the the scary haunted like farm, like haunted, you know, like those haunted thingies that happen.
The haunted thingies at a farm, crop circles?
No, like you pay a ticket and then like people scare you and shit.
A corn maze.
Yeah, something like that. Well, the people know what I'm talking about. But like in that,
I don't think they do. If it's not a corn maze and if it's not a crop circle, what the hell could a scary farm thing
like
be?
Halloween, farm scary. Okay.
Like a scarecrow?
No. It's like, okay, the Legend of Fear haunted hayride and trail. Like it's like a haunted
hayride.
Yeah, but like they're like a lot of times here they happen at farm places.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah. And so I went to one before, and I applaud it, because apparently went to one of the like good ones or whatever. And I was telling my wife, I was like, bro, they were locked in. They I didn't think I'd get scared, but that guy with the chainsaw, he ran across the entire field chasing people with the chainsaw. That's crazy. And then, but there was one, I think it was a girl. She was like upside down, like sleepwalker running at you. And
okay.
She, like, I'm a fast runner, so it didn't get like, I wasn't ever concerned because no one would be able to catch me. But like, I was like, damn, she's booking it. Like, she would catch most people in this upside down horrific looking thing. And it was, when I first saw it, I was like, yo, that thing needs to die. And then I was like, that's a person. I'm like, oh my god. I was like, is this a part of the thing? Because that thing was crazy. Because we like, you leave like the room like building, and then she just started coming from a bush upside down, running at you like on all fours. And it's like, all right,
that'd be so
fight
sick.
or flight.
We need that in One Piece, bro. Like, yeah, like imagine Loki upside down like the Exorcist, just crawling up the tree. Like, bro, like if you were killing him, I feel like his nightmares would pop out and it'd be Loki.
Yeah.
Like, that's nuts.
Yeah.
So
that shit was spooky. If Loki started doing that shit.
right now, how do you want Loki to go to the Sun Realm then? Is that your number one pick? Because I think it's my number one pick. Just upside down crawling up the tree. That'd be horrifying.
It'd be so funny if like Loki. No, well, yeah, that one. But like now that I'm in this like epic fear entrances, what's the coolest way? Loki just like shouts his name and he's like, I have returned, and then all of Elbaf starts getting scared because Loki's unleashed, and then Killingham summons him from the nightmare fissures, and then Loki's just like, and then he just poofs up there. That'd be crazy because everyone's just like, Loki's
he
freed.
is the nightmare.
Yeah, and everyone stops being afraid of emo.
Gunko. Was that like Emu's alternate personality? She's very depressed.
Emu would be backseat to now Loki. Everyone's like seeing this. All right, I'm not afraid of that thing anymore. I'm afraid of Loki. And then Emu goes into emo form because now they're like, oh man,
my spotlight.
Yeah. But yeah, so at the end of the day, I do want Loki to have like, he needs to have like an Avengers level entrance, you know, but he's like the reverse Avenger. Yeah, I don't know, because wouldn't everyone would be terrified? Like the moment they see him, they would piss themselves, right?
I don't necessarily think so. We got to remember, like, while Loki was and is a criminal and a menace, there were instances where Loki got along with people. Like, I mean, look at Jarl, right? Like, Jarl and Loki in this chapter, they were kind of smiling together. They were cheesing. Like, yeah, Loki was a bad guy, but he wasn't a bad guy. He's like Wreck-It Ralph. And plus, like, the scenario or, the situation that Elbaf is in right now, I'd like to imagine that they will accept any savior. It's like Fishman Island, where they're like, oh, please, like, Luffy, even if you are prophesized to destroy Fishman Island, please stop Hody Jones. Like, they're at that point where they would just take anyone to save the kids, to save the tree, to save the library. So if Loki shows up, yeah, I bet there's going to be some people who are like, oh my God, it's Loki. But they're also like, wait a minute, he's on our side? Well, you'd rather take Loki. You'd rather take the villain you know than the villain you don't know. So I bet they're going to see Loki and they're like, okay, this is better than Emu. Please, Loki, do something. And, I actually thought about this too, but what if Loki gets unchained and then it's like you said, he disappears from the underworld and we just get a scene where Loki whispers into all the God Knights' ears and he's like, I've always been here. And he's just right behind them like the Undertaker.
Dude, I'm mad because like Loki's potential is we're still at a spot where it's unlimited. You know what I mean? Like there's the sky's the limits, like this guy, I'm imagining so many montages where like Emu's like, throwing down a lightning thing, Loki blocks it, and then I keep scuffing this name now because Gunko Emo, and now everything's just coming together, and I can't come up with a name because we haven't named who this is. I'm just gonna say Gunko for the sake of my brain at the moment, but Gunko commands like, oh, kill the kids, and then Loki goes there and blocks Sommers and killing him. He just is boxing everybody all alone, you know what I mean? Like his limitation at this point is his injuries, but like I don't even know how insane Oda's gonna make Loki because we haven't seen it. We haven't seen it. We don't even know how he fell to like Shanks, right? But we're putting him on that realm where it's like he, even right here in this page, where Scopper says the color thing, he is just like, you've helped me see the sense of it, Gaban. I wasn't able to verbalize my own power, and in that case, I've experienced it for myself. The Holy Knights can be stopped. Like he is confident. And this guy, it seems like when Emu's Haki was shown, he wasn't fearful, right? Like he was just like, oh, I'm necessary now. Like that's like that Haki showing was just like, okay, I you definitely need me. And that's the point of this chapter too. It's like, how badly do we need Loki? And Scopper, is just like, we kind of need his ass, guys. We kind of need him.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say I might be number one on Elbaf, but Loki is necessary because I'm meaning, Scopper's old and also injured. Damaged right now. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think you called him damaged goods in your live stream. So yeah. I mean, Scopper's cooked. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Jarl admits that too in this chapter.
Oh yeah.
Well, so
I mean, that's the thing, right? Like people are like, even though they're old, they're strong. It's like, wait, guys. Every old person mentions their age. Like I get it, right? Oda depicts really strong old men, but you cannot say that they're not nerfed by that old age. So interestingly enough, you mentioned Loki and you read his dialogue there. It also, the Viz, gives off the impression that he's fought the Holy Knights before. Like I've experienced it for myself. The Holy Knights can be stopped, but is he referring to the Gunko and Shamrock beat down from a couple of chapters ago, or has Loki fought the God Knights before in a previous situation? Because there's a lot of room for interpretation with this one, right? It's very open-ended. Like, I don't know where to go with this.
Yeah, it's I mean, he did say before, if I had faced them on the sea, then I would have been king by now, which that implied that he hadn't met them while he was on the seas prior to, assumingly after he killed Harald, right? And before he got captured. During that time, he never saw a Holy Knight, according to what he said. And if he did, then he maybe hyperbolically is claiming that he would have beat their ass and been king of the world by then. But I do think he's referring to the Shamrock's point, because but that's a weird benchmark to like be confident about. You know what I mean? Like, is he saying their attacks are so weak that like they didn't bother him at all? But then a doctor showed up and be like, this guy's on death's door. Right? Like, like I don't really know, because it's weird to be confident off of death's door like that, It's a little bit of an interesting play. Like, the math from Loki's end isn't adding up to I can definitely handle these guys. Did they stab you?
And plus, like, Loki didn't ever witness the regeneration when they're beating him down too.
Yeah. So, yeah,
Good
it's a little
Loki,
weird.
man.
Yeah, he definitely didn't experience that Haki blast. That Haki blast they just saw. Like, I don't think Loki can be like, I experienced that Haki when I was fighting. No, you didn't. Yeah, we saw the whole thing.
Yeah, they were just kind of hanging out. And like, yeah, it wasn't a fight either, because at least in the Viz, they don't make it sound like a fight, but in TCB, they're like, yeah, when I faced off against them before, it's like, whoa, was it a face-off? If it's Gunko and Shamrock, it was more like a beatdown. I'm not trying to like downplay Loki, but he couldn't do anything. It's not really a face-off, man.
He's also wrong on that front, because the two giants at the castle, they also faced off. They faced off and survived against the Holy Knights too. So he's like, in the Viz or in TCB, it says, I'm the only one left who's faced these knights before. Enters in Gerd's other patients.
Yeah, the two people who are like up in the sun realm, they're like, no, actually, Loki, we fought Shamrock and Gunko. We got our ass kicked, and we can do something now.
Yeah. Loki bands together with them. They're the Gerd survivors, like that'd be yeah. Do you think Gerd has drugs for them? She's like, oh, it's gonna take months for you guys to recover unless you take some opioids. And she starts peddling drugs to them.
I mean, it would be weird if Elbaf didn't have special medicine. Not just for Elbaf's sake, but for Chopper, right? Like, I feel like every island has had something odd. So if Elbaf had like giant drugs, that'd be perfect. I feel like the potency wouldn't be great. I mean, potency for humans, I guess it would be really potent because it's massive, actually, now that I think about it. But yeah, that'd be fun.
Someone said, I forget what they said to set me off on the stream, but they were saying like Zoro's never taken what they said something, and I was like, what are you talking about? In Onigashima, he literally took drugs multiple times. Like, what are we talking about? And if we're saying that there's giant drugs, we have to have Zoro take it. Like, Zoro is our guinea pig for drugs. We need him to take all the drugs to see how it affects him. He's also the only one who can survive the drugs, Now
that I think about it, would it be like a dark timeline of One Piece or a Dark Piece if every time they took drugs, they got addicted? Like, imagine if like we had some of the Straw Hats like knock on Chopper's door in the middle of the night, like, Chopper, I need a fix, brother. Or like Zoro's like addicted to mink medicine, and Zoro's like, guys, can we go back to Zoe? I want to see if Carrot's running the place correctly. But he really just wants the mink medicine.
This is like starts tweaking out.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it would be interesting of like Sanji's, like, to keep up with Luffy, the amount of stress that they're under to keep up. They have to do some like unhuman amount of like Sanji's body experimenting. Zoro's taking insane levels of drugs, and they're just like
he's like Jack Henma from Baki.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be wild.
Dude, yeah, and then like when Luffy goes Gear 5th, we get a narrator box saying, everybody was impressed. They were happy that the Sun God has returned. But not Zoro or Sanji, though. They know that they must level up yet again. How are they gonna do this? Sanji must go back to genetically modifying himself in the bathroom. You know, Zoro's gonna have to take more drugs. Like, that'd be such a sad dialogue box. And then you see Zoro and Sanji, and they're like frowning. They're like, no, Luffy, please, not again. Don't level up.
Unlike Luffy, these characters do not have plot armor. Like, they must take drugs to keep up. That'd be such an insane.
And then we cut over to Usopp, and he goes like, "Hey guys, like I'm gonna go to my room now." We go to his room, and we should see a rope hanging, and he's like, it's just fighting his demons. Like, man, like how am I gonna do this? I'm holding the crew back. Like again, that's Dark Beast, right? Just very sad Straw Hat members just watching their captain, you know, transcend every level of power, and they just cannot keep up. You know, I will say this though, you know, as much as I trash on like Usopp not being there, like certain characters not having Haki, I will say this: One Piece has done a way better job at keeping characters relevant in terms of power than Naruto has. Man, dude, Naruto, dude, if you are not a part of Squad 7, you don't even exist, man. Holy crap. Dude, what is Squad 7 take? Dude, Kakashi doped him up. 1,000,000% Kakashi doped him up.
Dude, yeah. Like,
dude, shout out to my guy Kiba. Shino, dude, what? What are the... Like, I get they're not weak, but man...
You're not caught... Well, I mean, I'm not either with, like, Boruto stuff, right?
Yeah,
like,
I haven't read Boruto.
Okay, yeah. Because because there's no rectifying the situation. The further and further you go into the series, it's like... Man... Like, it would have been better if we brought some of these characters along, but we didn't. So now bringing them into the mix of like godhood and technology, it makes no sense.
I mean, it's not even just... Sorry, well, you know, we'll move on from Naruto here in a little bit, but it's Par's favorite series. But the thing is
I didn't
that
bring it up this time.
Not even like the squads, right? Think about the other villages, brother. If you're going in terms of like named characters and people who can fight at a Jonin level, the Leaf Village has damn near 50 people. Named characters. Look at the Hidden Cloud. They have 5. You know, look at the water, the Mist Village. They got like 2. Like, it's so heavily skewed. I wonder how ninja wars even happen. It's literally just fodder fighting fodder at that point.
I never thought about it that way, because when the series like starts, it's the Leaf Village in a very like, you know, volatile world scenario. It's like, you know, post their world war, and they're not trying to get into another world war or ninja war or whatever. But then you realize it's like, why was the Leaf Village ever worried about anybody else? Like, there's no reason for them to be like, no, I mean, I'm not saying no reason, because obviously you had like the Gara and like the other Kages and stuff like that. But when you think of like the Kage Summit, that was for the other villages. There's no like, the Leaf Village had an entire shadow army that would cook every other village instantly. Like, and then Danzo would wipe the floor.
And then think about the final war. The main villain was Madara, a guy from the Leaf Village. And then, you know, you think about the main weapon they could use against Madara. It's Hashirama from the Leaf Village. The main players were all from the Leaf Village. Brother, what are these other villages putting up? I'm surprised we don't have like the Leaf Village eliminating other villages. Like, oh, like there's this village that existed, now they're just gone. Like the Leaf just knocked them out of existence.
That's when you gotta realize we got the story from the like the majority oppressive perspective. Like Naruto should not have been from the Leaf Village. He should have been from like the Mist. Like, when you think about it, because like the Mist was the most like screwed over from the politics of the villages, because they were like hardcore set in military that they had to like basically mercenify all their children and to like have like the blood sport for their kids. And it's like that, yeah, they're a messed up thing, but like you gotta realize they were trying to survive. If they didn't put their kids out there, then the Leaf Village would do that to them.
Yeah.
So Naruto should have came from the Mist Village and turned out the exact same way, where he's like this super happy guy, is super gentle, and it would have been way more like insane coming from the Mist Village. It's like, no shit, he came from the peaceful ass Leaf Village. They have an entire wall that has like AI level of surveillance, versus the Mist Village is like their thing is just the fog. That's what's protecting them. Like,
yeah, and what's funny too is that when you go back to like the war in the Obito flashback, you only hear about 2 names on that battlefield: the White Fang, which is Kakashi's dad, and Minato, the Yellow Flash. And it's like, okay, what about the people they're fighting? Like, who do they have? Like, who is fighting these guys, man? Like, nobody.
Yeah, because Kakashi's dad killed everybody.
Yeah, like I said, I love Naruto for what it is, but I think in terms of fleshing out the other villages and making them seem like actual threats, minus just fodder level characters, they did a really bad job at that. But yeah. I still like it. Like I said, I'm not like hating Naruto. It's just I wish they just took more time with it, but it is. Yeah, and
I think another, comparison point too is that, like, while the Jinchurikis existed, which in like the parallel, it'd be like the equivalent of like a Nika fruit. While those existed, that wasn't like that oppressively used to affect all the characters, right? So like, it's interesting because they had like the out to have all these other characters be relevant, but then they didn't keep them relevant. Whereas like in One Piece, it's like there's some insane shit going on, and yet you still have a bunch of random characters without devil fruits, even without Haki, and they're in these fights, in these wars, being relevant, right? Like Tama's finding ways to be relevant. Oda makes good use of a lot of different avenues for being effective, and it's pretty interesting that like you'd never see like Tama showing out in another series like that. Well, not never, I wouldn't say that, but like to the degree. And Tama's not even the best example. I'm just saying, like, as like Kid,
Bellamy,
Goofy Fruit, Bellamy is an interesting one too. And then the potential for a lot of these characters to come back, like I don't know. There's a lot of different things. Like, for example, like Brook, right? Like people have no qualms with theorizing that Brook is going to have a significant battle with one of the most like one of the coolest Holy Knights, at this moment. You know what I mean? And if you had asked that during Onigashima, will Brook get a final battle? It's like, yes, he will, but like, how, right? But like, he's Soul King, and Oda has a way to bring him into relevancy, I'm sure, right? There's a lot of avenues and Oda does use them. Sometimes. I would say sometimes, but
W One Piece.
Yeah, from power perspective.
So this right here, well, we're now at the part that people are talking about, and this is the translation that I saw from the spoilers and the initial leaks. But TCB went with something else entirely, but in the Viz, they went back to this statement, and Scopper looks over at Sanji and Zoro, and he says, seems like there's more than one of you with Supreme King Haki. Because initially he was talking to Luffy, right? But now he turned over to Sanji and Zoro, and he's saying more than one. So it doesn't just have to be Zoro. It can be both Sanji and Zoro, which I think is a little bit interesting. I think...
who translated it that way?
What's up?
That's what Viz translated it?
Yes.
Oh my God.
That is what Viz translated it to. But like I said, initially when the spoilers came out, that's what everybody else was translating it to as well. But it was TCB that was like kind of the odd man out, who just simply said there's another in your group who uses Conqueror's Haki, which makes it sound like just one person.
Yeah.
But here it's more open-ended, which I think is the point. Because like, oh, does Sanji have it? Does he not have it? And then we see Sanji run up and he's like, oh, wait, who, me? Yeah, I had a feeling is what he says here. I had a feeling I had Conqueror's Haki. I'm tired of Mossad and Jinbei stealing all my glory. And I was like, whoa, he had a feeling he had it? Are you kidding me? That's crazy. I mean, I guess in the TCP, he also said I knew it too. Like, he knew he had Conqueror's Haki, so it's interesting. What was Sanji feeling beforehand? And also, one thing people have been pointing out, and I never noticed this. I thought it was a gag, but now that somebody says it, I see the importance of it now. But where I'm at is that Sanji can use Conqueror's Haki, but I think it's only when he's in his Jerma Vinsmoke mode when he's fighting, like when his eyebrows flip. And people have been bringing up the fact that lately Oda has been drawing a lot of panels of Sanji doing like the quick motion, like the head turns. So you see two faces at the same time. I think somebody like went up and pulled all the panels between now and Agate Island. And I think there's like 5 different panels where Sanji does this. And people are saying it's to show like regular Sanji and the Vinsmoke Jerma Sanji, like the difference there. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I like that.
Interesting.
I was like, yeah, that's kind of sick. I like that reasoning a lot because that's where I'm at right now. Like, I think Sanji will get it. That's where I'm at, but it's going to be because of his DNA. Well, I mean, okay, his DNA mixed with his own willpower. I want to, preface it like that. It's not all just Judge. It's Judge's body plus Sanji's will, and of course that's going to bring up like another pain spot of like, I have to thank the Vinsmokes again. Yeah,
I mean, not saying that this doesn't move me in the sense that I've always been, I got a 90-minute video explaining why Sanji already had Conqueror's Haki, already was leaking it at certain moments, certain times in the story. And him saying, yeah, I had a feeling. Yeah, I knew it. No news to me. But I think that like, in a combat sense, the Germa probably is his avenue to understanding that, right? Because the whole point of the Germa thing was he wanted his sons to be conquerors. And the conundrum of, can you be a conqueror? Can you evoke your will without proper emotions, right? And, my stance has always been that, especially in One Piece, the conquerors always have shown and bloomed because of insane distress. And one of my favorite examples of that, it's like when we look at like Ace or Yamato or whatever, Luffy at Marineford, the way they unlocked the Conqueror's Haki was because they were scared that their loved one was about to, well, not in Yamato's sense, but Ace and Luffy, they were trying to protect their loved one, right? And Ace and Luffy was like basically each other. And when you look at the moment when Germa could have awakened it, it was at Whole Cake Island when their dad was about to be killed. And instead of being scared, instead of trying to break free, they couldn't grasp death sitting in front of them and the gravity and muster up a desire to will, because they were like, whatever. And Judge, as a not modified person, was like, what the hell? Why are they like this? And Reiju's like, no shit. They're not acting the way you want them to because you ripped them of the proper emotional facilities that would allow them to react in a way that you would want, which is like defying death. And Sanji is the character that showed up and defied death for them. And he's the character that has the emotional facilities to also, like we're talking about here, it's like, Zoro's like, wait, I can use Supreme King Haki, and then Luffy's like, wait, it's flowing out of you. Wait, what? Like in that control that even Scopper goes on to say, like, what? You have to understand, you have to tame it. And like we go back to what Rayleigh's saying, it's like controlling Haki, all that stuff. Sanji is a character, has the profile of like the emotional control and stability. That's the entire point of Onigashima, him battling with that, like, can I control this, like this conqueror, like, cold-blooded nature. So he's a pro at that, and that's where I think that, yeah, like Oda's definitely gonna give him the Conqueror Haki. This doesn't change that. This doesn't backtrack or negate anything of that development. If anything, for me, like, again, the dialogue ends up supporting it. Like, yeah, I had a feeling like that. What? Like, he's getting it right, and then the subtle signs that we had before of him holding the book, and then the translation literally being like reiterating conquer color of the Supreme King. So it's, yeah, Sanji's gonna get it. The question is when, against who, and in what scenario. I like a lot of those theories around the how and when, but and like this one, I like this theory that the double-faced Germa thing. I don't know. I have to look more into it and see what you saw. but just hearing it, I like the logic that people are putting here. I like it a lot.
Yeah, and I feel like Elbaf is perfectly set up for Sanji to get it. Because when you think, or at least go into Jirma mode again, because not only is he about to fight, but he's going to go up to the Sun Realm and see that Robin and Nami are both incapacitated for the most part, and Ripley might actually be beaten by Sommers because she's going over to him. Sommers is currently shepherding the kids. He's shepherding her son. So if Sanji goes up there and he sees Ripley get beaten, Scopper's wife, which is great, like, the Parallel's wife, that's where he unlocks it. He could go rage mode. I could definitely see that happening.
Yeah. And we haven't seen rage mode Sanji like that. Like, we've seen it gag form, right? But like his last, like, against Queen, he had it for like a second. But it was with Osume. I forget her name.
I think you got it.
Yeah. And like, not saying that doesn't matter, but that's a step below even Viola, right? Like, had Sanji seen Doflamingo torturing Viola, I would think that he would have a way crazier reaction, especially because the way Oda balanced it was Sanji looked at the Queen situation as part of his fault, because like he led Queen there, and he's like, wait, like she got hit because of me, basically, right? But like he doesn't really know her now, and that's what I'm saying. Like in the Viola situation, he at least knew Viola, and so like that would have sent him in rage. But if you're talking about Nami, Robin, and add on like Ripley, we might actually get like an insane version of Sanji, which we didn't get in in Egghead, because like there's a lot of stuff going on, but Oda didn't put Sanji in that position because that would have drawn focus away from like Akuma, a Luffy, a Vegapunk, if we added a Sanji Zoro angle to that. So, but here I think we have more than one way to like create an actual, I'm not saying Sanji wasn't serious in previous fights, but like it's a different context that we're putting him in, and I think
bloodlusted.
Yeah. Especially with the kind of dialogue that Sommers could put out. It's thematically clashing with Sanji on that front too. So like Sommers could say some like fuck shit, and then Sanji could be set off, like that could be as simple as that too. He's like, if Sommers says some like vile thing against Robin, like I'm not saying this, but like Sommers was literally getting motorboated by Robin. You know what I mean? If Sommers says that to Sanji like, you did what? And then Sanji flipped the shit out. You know what I mean? It's like Sommers could say like, oh, I need another taste of that woman. Sanji would make it a life mission to cut out his tongue. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
like,
or
that kind of thing.
We know how celestial dragons are. What if he's like, those two gals, I'ma take them to the Holy Land and have some kids, brother. And then that's, of course, the rage mode Sanji, right? Yeah, I think there's a lot of ways to take Sanji off. Just bring up a woman, make fun of her, or insinuate something bad, and Sanji's gonna go off. So I think Sanji going into his Jerma mode, Sanji getting Conqueror's Haki, like it's all there.
I'm gonna watch Jerma mode.
What's
like I want like the opposite of Jerma mode. Like I want Sanji rage mode, right? Because Jerma is supposed to take out his emotions, make it cold-blooded. So he's not supposed to be angry. It's supposed to be like ruthless, right? So like, I don't even know if I want Jerma mode. I want the opposite, but like either one would be sick. Like Sanji just,
hell, dude, when we saw Jerma mode Sanji, he had those emotions. He was kind of rageful against S Shark.
That's true.
He did say, he was like, my kingly decree is that I'm going to execute you, you fishman. And it's like, yeah, like, I mean, it's cold-blooded, but I mean, it's also like, his emotions were on his sleeve, brother.
That. Yeah, I forgot about the S Shark moment. That's true. I didn't register that as a serious fight, but in that regard, it is a valuable data point to how Sanji interacts with his new body and emotional state. Yeah, you're right. No, that's crazy.
Oh yeah. I mean, that was one of the main debates for like, or not debates, but one of the main reasons why back then people were like, oh yeah, I can see Conqueror's Haki Sanji more and more as these chapters go on.
True.
So Zoro is surprised he has King's Haki. Despite Kaido saying it right in front of him, Zoro's like, huh? Me? I have it. And then, of course, Luffy's like, yeah, it's been flowing out of you. It's been leaking out of you this whole time. And how do you feel about that? I think it's good, personally. I mean, you know, Zoro's one of those characters that has always felt like he should have Conqueror's Haki. There's even been moments where people assume it's Conqueror's Haki, like Ashura, against Monet. Like, Zoro just... He was always that guy. I kind of wish Luffy said when it started. I know you're on the boat that it's been always happening. And I don't think that's bad either. You know, our first true data point was in Wano. But like I said, you can draw from many instances in the past and say, oh, like that was Conqueror's Haki. You know, it was probably just always leaking and they never had anybody pass out even. Like there's so many ways you could spin this that it's one of those moments where I wish Oda was more specific, where Luffy's like, oh my gosh, this happened in chapter 27, Zoro. You've been leaking it ever since. Like, you know, but obviously they're not going to do that. But yeah, how do you feel about this in general?
Yeah, I think the main one that a community would pull out is the Monet fight, right? Like,
yeah,
because it's like he obviously didn't use Haki to cut her, but that was a conqueror moment. And if you were to say that it oozed out and knocked her out, that would make sense. Meaning knocked her out, meaning like kind of what we're getting from when Shanks reverted Green Bull from his devil fruit form, right? That was essentially Zoro did something along that way. And, you know, you could say like, yeah, he just scared the shit out of her. Sure. But that scenario lines up really well with how Conqueror's Haki is currently contextualized. And so, you know, there's like Zoro having it, not a surprise. Flowing out of him, not a surprise. I think the surprise is like you said, Kaido literally said it to his face. You know, and it's like Oda made Luffy the type of character to. It's kind of funny because I was gonna say like it's like Goku with like Goku had like instant teleportation and like he never taught to anybody. And it's like surely like Piccolo could have learned that, right? Like that, like maybe not like Gohan was probably smart enough to figure out that. But
here's
like,
a spoiler alert, but I don't think it's something you can easily teach because Vegeta, he learns it later in the manga, but he had to travel to the other planet to learn it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, but
it's crazy.
Vegeta's like now I'm not gonna say terrible, but like if you're to figure like there's a profile of who can easily learn it, I wouldn't put Vegeta on that list.
He's a prodigal prince. What are you talking about? Wait. To help your
I'm
point,
talking about the guy with antennas coming off of his head.
No,
Piccolo is definitely way better, bro.
To help your point, though, there is one other character that learned instant transmission on the spot, and that do you know who it is? Actually, do you know who?
I should know. I feel like I know the answer, but.
Yeah, first up, I don't want people to say Cell because he was genetically modified to have all those abilities. So I'm not bringing up Cell, but it was Metal Cooler.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, Metal Cooler learned instant transmission on the spot.
Yeah,
I mean, Goku did it, and Cooler was like, oh, cool. Me too. And I was like, huh? And I was so epic, man. I love Cooler so much.
But like, and it's like in Goku's situation, right? Like there's so many things that he like he's super strong, but like he did show Gohan technically Super Saiyan mode and like, you know, different techniques here and there. It's an interesting thing because like Luffy and Goku are similar, but like, and I'm bringing that up because it's like Zoro having Conqueror's Haki and like Luffy knowing that, but then not seeing like Zoro use it at all, you know, like it's like, damn, like do they ever train together? Like, do they ever help each other at all? Like, they never like as Usopp makes weapons, helps Nami with certain things, you know, helps Frankie with certain things. There's collaboration there. But apparently on the power system side, they're all like, these are my techniques and my techniques alone. And like, you know, like Sanji, Zoro, and Luffy, they're just like Oh man, like what Sanji says here. I'm tired of Moss and Jinbei stealing all of my glory. And so when you think about that, it's like Sanji's prerogative is like, no, I'm not going to teach them about my special techniques. You know, it's like, but at the end of the day, like something that conquers Haki, it's like it would be Luffy's prerogative to like cultivate any of the conqueror Haki that he senses on his crew. You know what I mean? Like,
yes, I feel like that's a hard one. Because most captains would.
yeah.
But this is 19-year-old Luffy we're talking about, and I'm not that confident in Luffy fostering like this well-versed Haki group.
Yeah,
exactly. If Luffy was like 10 years older, if Luffy's been on the seas for a while, then I think he would take on that mentorship role. But because he sees his crew as a bunch of friends, maybe he doesn't do it. He's like, oh, like they're doing their own thing. And plus, you know, Zoro, he's a wild guy. You know, Zoro, he's up on I don't know, like the bird's nest of the ship 24/7 lifting weights. Like Zoro just trains and trains and trains.
Yeah,
so there's a possibility that Luffy sees the Conqueror's Haki leaking out. And he's like, oh, like Zoro's just doing his thing. You know, Zoro's just training himself. Like this is Zoro's method. So I think that's what it could be.
I think the only way I would see it differently is if, and I'd love it if this was the case. If Luffy bullied Kid on the rooftop, I'm like, wait, don't you have Conqueror's Haki? Why aren't you using it? If Luffy called his ass out, then I would be more inclined of like, yeah, if Luffy like training, you know, that would make sense. But you know, obviously Luffy's character isn't shaped like that at all. But if there was an avenue for it, it would be
no. People...
Be like, aren't you supposed to be one of the monster captains?
Dude.
What is going on, kid? Why do we have to carry your ass so goddamn hard? You actually have conquerors, bro.
Saying kid in this chapter is like invoking Voldemort's name for me. People have heard enough of the kid hype for me, but dude, you say kid, I'm gonna defend his ass. Dude, kid's gonna come back, and I swear to God, Scopper, he's gonna sense it immediately, and he's gonna be like, wow. Dude, I'm gonna drop this line on you. Scopper's gonna say, whoa, you're the opposite of Zoro. I understand why you cannot tame your Conqueror's Haki. It is overflowing. It is immense. Kid's gonna step foot on this island. Scopper's he's gonna die.
He's gonna say, I can't sense the Conquerors, but I read it in your Viver cards.
No. It wasn't even in a Viver card. It was Kaido.
Oh yeah.
Kaido said that Kid had Conqueror's Haki. He said, yes, there's too many Conquerors here while looking at Kid. Brother.
Wait, no, but did we know that
what's up?
He had Conquerors before Kaido, but Kaido gave us verification? Because I thought we knew that he had it before.
I don't know which one came first. It's like the chicken or the egg. Did we get the Viver card first, or was it Kaido? I'm not too sure, but either way, like, you know, he does have it, but for some reason he has not mastered it. It's got to be something with his Haki, brother. It could be, like I said, it could just be so immense that he just can't grasp it.
Well, I will say, based off of this dialogue, this chapter, we are in a finicky situation in the sense of Conqueror's Haki, because you and I were pretty adamant about how I'm not gonna say better timeline, but like it was set up where, you know, Chopper runs here, finds out the vital information, and the technique wasn't inherently tied to Conqueror's Haki, because then more characters would be a threat to the Holy Knights. But where it stands now is that in order to be a valuable threat against the Holy Knights and the Gorosei, you have to have Conqueror's Haki. And that's not fully locked in the sense of like, maybe there's other ways. An example of that, and it's still theoretical, is like the Shanks moment with how he lost his arm. Did he have regeneration? And why didn't his arm grow back? Like, you know, like things like that. Obviously, as a theoretical, we don't know the full context now. We're adding context to it. But, you know, when it comes to Conqueror's Haki now, we do either have to accept that more characters are like Conqueror's Haki, like my boat, and I've said this for the entire time I've been on YouTube, is I could argue that all the Straw Hats could get Conquerors. Where we're at the story is kind of wonky. When I said it back then, I think I could make a better case. But now, like some of the things at the time, I think I was specifically talking about Nami. And then we have a post Onigashima thing where Oda gave her black lightning. And Jinbei is like, is that conquerors? And in here, it's also insinuating that like, and I'm saying it's not as concrete, but Sanji brings up Jinbei in this conversation. So I'm tired of Moss Head and Jinbei stealing all the glory. And this is in a context of Conqueror's Haki. And you could say like Jinbei doesn't have Conqueror's Haki, whatever, and Sanji's just saying that Jinbei's stealing the glory. But where? Jinbei's been luggage boy this entire time.
He has
so it's
a
like
higher bounty.
The higher bounty and stealing all the glory, right? And so there's an avenue where you could say like there's more characters in line to get Conqueror's Haki. The way Rayleigh said is if you make a name for yourself, you'll get or you likely have Conqueror's Haki, right? But if we're to keep that roster limited, then Kid becomes that much more valuable in bringing him back into the story because there would be a reason to verifying that he has Conqueror's Haki so early in the story. And I say early because the distance from when he uses it from when we know about it is like it's absurd. There was no point in us knowing that he had Conqueror's Haki this entire time because he's not used it in any like context. And so if now the reason why he had it is to make him a opponent for a Gorosei or Holy Knight, then that makes sense. Yeah, Kid's gonna have a huge part in the story, getting a brought back to fight a Holy Knight. That's seemingly that's his minimum timeline now, because I don't see why you would have a monster captain have Conqueror's Haki and not put him against at least a Holy Knight, right?
Yeah.
The maximum is he's fighting Emu. Kid kills Emu, the KKI fandom,
You got that abbreviation quick.
Yeah,
KKI,
yeah.
Kid kills Emu, huh?
Yeah, I was honestly trying to figure out if there was a way to make Emu's name start with a K. The KKK. Ooh.
It gets like another name. That'd be so funny.
Yeah,
Just
we rebrand the KKK. We just start making fan art where Kid's wearing a white cap. This is his final form.
Dude, yeah. I mean, I think that's the fun part though, right? Like, initially I was pretty, not sour, but Conqueror's Haki wasn't my favorite route to go with this, just because like I wanted the Straw Hats to all hop in and fight. Maybe they still can, like you said. Oda hasn't completely closed it off. There still could be other ways they circumvent this, like the Haki rope, like what Emeth had, I think is a great solution. Which is funny because I've talked about like, oh, maybe Luffy gives his Conqueror's Haki to the rest of the crew, and people are like, oh, like that's not possible. It's like, wait a minute, like Joy Boy kind of did that with Emeth though, right? Like. I've heard a lot of people saying, "Oh, but Sai, that can never happen." It's like, wait, it has happened, and we know that Luffy is like, people are starting to hate parallels, but it's like he's kind of the Joy Boy parallel, So I'd be surprised if
he is. I didn't know that.
I'd be surprised if there's like a Haki that Joy Boy can do that Luffy can't eventually replicate. So yeah. If Luffy gets out like the Haki knot and gives it to the Straw Hats, I mean, I think that just makes sense. Maybe Nami hops in and is like, oh, I can tie the knot, Luffy. Just, put your Haki in it. Or maybe Chopper comes back in and, Luffy just puts his hands over Chopper's balls and says, yes, your Rumble balls now have Conqueror's Haki. And then boom, it goes back to what we talked about earlier, where the Straw Hats are doping up to, to get Conqueror's Haki for a little bit. Like, there are workarounds to it that have... I wouldn't say it's been established, but it's there if Oda wants to do it. It's not absurd if Luffy's able to give people his Conqueror's Haki, because we've seen that with Joy Boy.
Yo, it was funny because when you were quoting the comment, it's like, oh, you were saying like, oh, Luffy gives crew Conqueror's Haki. I seriously thought you were gonna say,
man.
The comments were like, nah, Sai, that's gay. Like, I thought that was gonna be the response. But then I was thinking about it. What if the fatal fuel and the Tamate Bako box, like Koreha would look at that medicine and Vegapunk, like this isn't science, right? What if they're like time dilation, like what if that's like Joy Boy infused medicine?
Then he's a bad doctor.
But like but when you were saying like the Rumble Ball thing, like Luffy puts his like essence in there, right? Like, isn't the Tamate Bako box, that's like a national treasure one that they held on for mad long, and then also like the end state is literally like you know,
You get
people
old.
made theories that looked a lot like Nika's transformation in the first point, and the whole thing of like Luffy's recoil. I never thought about it. Like, what if that was okay? Maybe not Joey Boy directly, but that was like his chopper, like trying to extract Joy Boy and put it into the thing, right? Wouldn't that would just be? I mean, that is the theory essentially, right? That the medicine is trying to mimic Joy Boy,
Yeah.
right? But what if it was even more than that? What if it was like Joy Boy was trying to give his essence over? I mean, interesting. I mean, that's also like devil fruit theory too, right? How did the devil fruits come into existence in the first place? So,
And then as
that was
far as
probably
fatal
Nika.
fuel goes, it could just be like, I don't know, Joy Boy's sweat or something.
Surprised he didn't go further.
Yeah, hey, I
didn't.
held back, dude. I could have went crazy with that one, but I'm gonna save that for King Harald. So yeah, I love what Scopper says to Zoro here. Like, hey, you know, you gotta hone this, man. Like, you are supposed to support your captain. He's a Yonko, man. Like, what are you doing? I love that Scopper has such a sound argument to be mad at Zoro that not even Zoro can
Yes.
really rebuke it, right? He's like, oh yeah, sorry, man. Like, I apologize.
Yeah,
I think that's fun.
This is like when Zoro yelled at Luffy at Punk Hazard, "Lock in! You gotta be serious. Stop losing to these losers." You know, like that conversation.
And then Luffy's like, "Oh, you're right, Zoro. I'll lock in now. Sorry."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scopper did the Zoro to Zoro, and Zoro's like, "Shit,
He's right. We are a Yonko crew. Damn it." Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Opponents are only gonna get stronger. I need to lock in.
Yeah.
So we go on and we get the Loki and Harden conversation, and pretty much everybody's asking Harden to let Loki go, right? You know, like Scopper says it, Luffy says it, Loki's like, let me go. So Luffy, he decides to you know, rip off the band-aid. Say, I'll just make this simple. Join my crew. Oh, I'm reading the viz. Luffy says, join my crew, man. I love that. Join my crew, man. Come on. Then
Wait, what did
can we set him
TCB
free,
say?
Harden?
Why did Viz add man?
Yeah, why
TCB
did
just
Viz
left
add
it as-
that?
That's so less. That's the aura drops
Yeah,
because of that.
it kind of drops a little bit. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with adding man at the end of a sentence, but it doesn't really fit the way Luffy talks.
Yeah.
I think that's the
And then
main thing.
also-
Join my crew, man. Come on.
Like we just set up. This is a Yonko crew, so like I'm memeing. I'm not saying Luffy talks like this, but I'm imagining like Kaido, Whitebeard, join my crew, man. Like,
Yeah.
adding man.
Syv and Par, what are you doing?
Like the voice, I feel like the voice actor comes to his lines. It's like, seriously, man. And then like they try so many iterations to make this sound cool, and it just wouldn't work. They would probably request, "Could I just drop the man here?" And Stephen
Dude.
Paul's like, "Yeah, I didn't really put that much thought into this translation."
You know what's
He's just-
funny? It's always funny. When people are like, "Oh, the Viz is correct," though, guys. Like, the Viz is always correct. This is the official. But and then you realize that the Viz exists in more places than just America. So there's like a Viz France, you know, a Viz Italian. Like, you know, there's so many versions of Viz, and they also all have different translations, but they all like more or less are the same, right? I feel like Stephen Paul is the most egregious one, like with Mosa and Shaggy. Apparently, Stephen Paul is the only Viz language translator that said Shaggy. No. So all the other official sites said Mosa, but Stephen Paul like goes above and beyond, man. He really does.
Man, that means Stephen Paul's the Itachi of the
Of the Uchiha? No. Like another one
of the translators.
Mother Frame. When Viz got to Mother Frame, they called it Mother Frame instead of Mother Flame. Only Viz English did that. The other Viz translations did not. So that is why when people are like, "Oh, the Viz is ours," it's not. Like they're literally like 50 different people all translating different things. It's
Dude,
crazy,
Stephen-
man.
It's because he unlocked the Mangekyo. You gotta ask yourself. We gotta stop asking yourself what isn't he seeing, because it's more what is he seeing? He sees beyond all of us.
Dude, like I'm pretty forgiving when it comes to a lot of One Piece takes, but I get very anal. Shout outs to the beginning of the podcast, by the way. But I get very Lana when people are like, oh, but the Viz is, the end all be all. No, brother, it's not. Like, there's so many ways to disprove that. Yeah. And the thing is like, I think people should be more open-minded with it. Like, yeah, if you want to believe the Viz, sure. But at least look at the other translations, right? It's like the line with like Scopper talking about Conqueror's Haki. Brother, I've read 4 translations, and I'm going with the majority. 3 out of 4 said there's more than one of you. I go with that, and that is the Viz's side. But there's other sides where it's like, oh, like this translation seems off. Oh, everybody else win with something different. Maybe that's correct. The fact of the matter is that it's not easy to translate Japanese. Mm-hmm. It's that simple. Unless we speak Japanese, we're not going to get the full context. And even if we know Japanese, the full context might still be missed because Japanese is very nuanced. And I do wonder, what did Syv and Paul see in this chapter? Paul, what are you looking at? How did you join my crew, man? Where did the man come from? When has Luffy ever said that?
Turn it off.
Turn off the Sharingan. The Mangekyo.
Yeah,
get it out of here.
It's like, yeah, it just, I feel like that's the part that Loki's cringing at. He's like, what? I would have joined if he didn't say man at the end of that sentence. Like, Loki's breaking the fourth wall. He's not cringing at the possibility of joining the crew. He's cringing at the translation of this. He's like, yeah, yikes. But yeah, it is the context that we're in, very, very interesting, because I'm biased. I may be biased, but like this has to be so offensive to Harald. Like, no one's on his side, dude. Not even his, like, he held this man up. Captain of he belittled himself, literally Roto, his own crewmate, was just like, why did we sign allegiance to this little dude? Who is this guy? Harald held up not the captain. Usopp called him God, basically, or held him up like Jesus, right? And this guy comes to your home, and he's hearing your backstory about your problems with your brother and blah, blah, blah. And Luffy's not for a second has been on Harald's side. Not even like a single moment of empathy towards Harald. In every option, he's just like, nah, he's a guy. Like, what did he say after this? He goes, I think it'd be pretty fun. And if anyone's got a problem, I'll whoop them. If anyone's, wait, what did he say here? Wait, whoa! Okay, wait.
Oh, that is different. Wait, yeah, I'm looking at it now, yeah.
Oh my god, that's crazy. That adds to what I was saying. Because he says, in the TCB, he says, Elbaf doesn't seem to want him, but he seems okay to me. That's what I was referencing in my head. He seems okay to me. Imagine hearing that after a literal century of like torment at the hands of Loki, beating you down, calling your mom dirty blooded, whatever Loki's done, lying, cheating, swindling, and then your captain shows up, seems he's a good guy. What are you talking about, right? And then in the TCB he says, besides, if he tries anything, I can always beat him up. Now Viz goes, come on, it sounds like Elbaf doesn't want you around anyways. He's talking directly to Loki. He's not even talking to Harald now. I think it'd be fun with you talk. He's ignoring Harald in this context, and he says, and if anyone's got a problem, I'll whoop them. Oh my god,
Steven, come outside. Yeah, it's very different. So if you guys are wondering why this is a big thing, because in Viz, essentially, Luffy says that he's going to beat up anybody who doesn't want Loki on his crew. Anybody who has a problem with it, he's going to beat them up. In TCB, Luffy says that he's going to beat Loki up. So it's like, they're very different statements.
I see
And again,
why.
like I said, dude, this is the perfect time for my rant about the Viz. But like, we gotta take this with a grain of salt. Imagine being a Viz only reader. Oh, that's gotta be a cursed existence. It's a fate worse than death. If you read the Viz only, oh my god, dude. Oh,
That's terrible.
You
That
have
makes
like
no
a very different interpretation of the story. You probably still call Zoro Zolo.
Dude, that's huge, and I see why Syv and Par probably did this, but I don't agree with it because when he says to join my crew to Loki, the next line, Luffy's speaking to Hiruden. So he says if he does, then you can't complain if I free him, right, Hiruden? And so TCB's next lines are Luffy to Hiruden, because he's talking to Hiruden when he says Elbaf doesn't seem to want him, but he seems okay to me, and if he tries anything reassuring Hiruden, then I will take it personally and beat him up. And that's where Loki interjects, hey, stop talking about me, don't mess with me, you runt, there's no way I become your underling, right? And then Hiruden continues the conversation with Luffy and says, you're going off your gut, huh, Straw Hat, right? And that's how you know that Luffy, at least in my opinion, it makes more sense that the panel above is Luffy speaking to Hiruden, because why would he be reassuring Loki, right? Because like that's not the whole context is Hiruden doesn't agree. That's why Luffy offers the alternative of Loki joining the crew, because then there's no disagreement. If he's under my crew, he listens to me, I'm taking the responsibility, I'll beat his ass up. And Hiruden, it's like, damn, you're my underling, I can't disagree. And Luffy's still offering that. That's the Viz's or TCB's context. Syv and Par, and this is crazy because the way this conversation is, it's even more bastardizing Hiruden, because Luffy's not even talking to Hiruden here. And let me read what the next. Oh, so then he closes it up the same way TCB. Is that what your instinct tells you, Straw Hat? And then Luffy goes, I want to see him fight. But the rest of it doesn't make sense, because the way Syv and Par has it is Luffy's talking to Loki. That's why he wrote it that way. And that makes no sense. That makes no sense. I'm sorry. I mean,
That's you gotta remember, Syv and Par, no offense, man, he is the Nakama of the infamous John Wary, the man who terrorized Jujutsu Kaisen for years. I mean, they probably go out and have drinks together. They probably like are on a first name basis. They probably like met each other's families. I think John Wary is rubbing off on Syv and Par, dude.
Yeah, I do the live stream, and there's times when I started doing this thing because I noticed, especially recently, it's been a little bit harder. Because I think it's a perspective thing. We talked about this since we're on Elbaf. There's a lot more panels we're getting where it's zoomed out, and we don't necessarily see who's saying what. And sometimes Oda puts the little picture to tell us it's Chopper or Zoro or whatever, but we don't get that all the time. So then sometimes I've been reading some of the dialogue, and I'm like, wait, this is crazy if Hiruden said this. But then it's like, oh wait, no, this wasn't what Hiruden was saying. It was like Loki was saying this, or a kid was saying this, or something. And so like there's been times on stream where I misassociated the dialogue with a different character, but like read it a second time, boom, I got it. That's all it took, really, is read it a second time, or just like talk to somebody and it's like, wait, this doesn't make sense, right? And then they're like, oh yeah, that's because Nami said that, not this person. And I'm like, oh, that makes, so it's like, I get it, you can make mistakes, but like this one is a little crazy. This one's a little crazy because it changes a lot. Like it doesn't make any sense for Luffy to say, and if anyone's got a problem, I'll whoop them, because like, huh?
Like so essentially if Elbaf doesn't like the fact that Loki joins the crew, Luffy's gonna beat up all of Elbaf, is what it sounds like. Which I was just gonna say that I pulled up OP chapters and they agree with TCB. Luffy says, you're funny, if anything happens I will beat you down. So like I said, majority rules, Viz, they're kind of unhinged with this one.
That's next level. There's a majority population reading the official chapter, and they're reading some crazy character. Like now we're gonna have conversation. But Luffy put Loki's reputation on his back, and he said he would beat up anybody. That's how much he wants Loki on the crew. I'm like, no, that doesn't even make sense, does it, guys? Like, that's a crazy one. If you were to make a video and you were to claim like something about the Nakama like thing, and they're like, but Luffy loves Loki so much, he put his reputation on, he beat up anybody for Loki, and then you have to combat that seriously. And it's like, but every other translation is telling you that's not what Luffy said. Luffy said he beat Loki up, and then trying to explain that to a Viz reader. Oh God, a Viz only reader. Sorry, because I'm a Viz reader. I'm just not a Viz only reader. That's the difference.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny too, because if you read Viz and only the Viz, and you've never watched the anime, you've never seen anybody talk about One Piece, when you walk out of that cave, you're gonna call Zoro Zolo, and that's gonna be a really awkward conversation. They still call him Zolo.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things where like they can't change it now. Like it's been so many years, but yeah.
I think I brought it up with Randy and Roger. We had like a collab where like Randy showed up and then another one where Roger showed up, and I started quoting Syv and Par at them. And I was like, what do you think about the trees listening, Roger? And he was like, huh? And then I think like Randy is like, oh, his like stream like told him the crazy thing. But like Roger was actually just like, oh yeah, that makes way more or something. I forget. That was on Jay's stream. Because everyone else reads the other translations except for Roger. And so it was just funny because like I just can't, I don't think I could ever only read one translation. Like, oh my God, it would be.
If it's like a manga you don't care about, or if it's just something you're binging for the day, then I get it, right? I've read a lot of fan translations that are just kind of silly. Yeah. They're really bad. They miss the point, but it's like you know what you get, right? But when you read from a source like Viz, you would like to think that they put some time and effort into it, which I'm sure they do. But yeah, I don't want to say it's like reading comprehension because it's not. I just wish that they at least looked at different translations or different translators to see what they were translating. Yeah. Like I think that would just be best. And of course, like that's dirty business because that's unofficial. But it's like, no, I mean, you're also verifying your own work, right? Making sure that you're not like the one odd man out. Like, oh, watch out, Vegapunk has the mother frame. And then we were talking about freaking picture frames for like a week. Like, I don't know what the hell was going on there. That's why when people like, but the Viz is always correct. Mother frame. I mean, what do you want me to say, brother? How do you defend that one?
I just want to point out, right? We were talking about frames before the official translation came out because I was like, I think Viz is gonna do mother frame, and then I was right. But even then, I was saying like they shouldn't. Because like the more logical one is mother flame, and if frame is relevant, it would be in the sense of wordplay. But like if I were to like write like Eminem's lyrics down, I'm not gonna write the deciphered version of his lyrics into the thing of like all the wordplay. No, I'm gonna write the lyrics down. And then you listen to how he says it and you get a second word, and then you break the word apart and you get a third word, and you leave it there because that's the lyrics, right? You just translate the lyrics, and that's where mother flame is the lyrics. And mother frame could possibly be, once we see it could be an intended double entendre. It could be an added meaning, but I would not suggest translating it that way. If it's relevant, it was a pun. If it's relevant, it's like a hidden meaning thing. You don't translate the hidden meaning because then you lose the relevant context of the wordplay there, right? You wouldn't do that to Shakespeare. You wouldn't do that to anybody in a literature sense because that's a common thing. And so, when we're coming to the Viz, and I agree with you, like when it comes to fan translate, I've read so many, but the difference there is when I go into reading that knowing that I'm getting a fanfic or fan translated thing, there's a certain tolerance level of the translation being wrong. I'm reading it, I'm like, oh, that doesn't really make sense. But my tolerance is like, okay, they said like this guy struck the world with thunder, and it's like, okay, they probably mistranslated that. That probably means something else, like he clapped and it was so thunderous or whatever, right? But when we read Viz, my tolerance level should be lower because I would imagine they're more accurate. That's the difference, because they're the official pipeline. And yeah, that's
Dude,
the difference.
It's so
like,
funny. So I mean, and the thing
what?
is, Viz isn't always wrong. They get things right, but I think they're wrong more often than not. And I'm just going through Sandman's Twitter account, and I typed in Viz to just see like the bad translations. And the funniest one is when Kizaru is going up to the Labo phase on Egghead, and Kizaru is saying, "Ah, yes, the checklist to keep safe, the power plant, Punk Records, and York, who is actually a friend, it turns out." But in obviously the other translations, he says, "And I wish I could add a friend to that list, which would be Sentomaru or Vegapunk." So they completely butchered that. And we know they butchered it because that's been animated. We're already there in the anime. And Kizaru did not say this. So which is always funny. You know, people are like, "Oh, but you know, which one is correct? We don't know. Like, is it the Viz or TCB?" Wait for the anime. When the anime drops, you're gonna know that they're just not exactly right.
Yeah. And then sometimes like, you know, the translations are interesting there too, but they more or less use the raw Japanese too. So like you can use that also, right? Like to translate it. And it won't line up.
Yeah.
Because the difference is then, and this happened to me previously too, because another problem with the it's context, right? Part of context is how is the character saying it? Are they angry? Are they whispering it? Are they saying it to somebody? Because that's what's happening here. Stephen Paul seemingly does not know who Luffy's speaking to. The anime would fix that, and it would give you the context. And the reason why that's important is that is something that the directors do speak to Oda. If they're vague on like, wait, who is Luffy speaking to? And if Oda would be like, oh, Luffy's speaking to Harald here, then you have context. And then in other situations, is this character screaming? Is this character angry? Is this character happy? And then that gives you the context to lock in what the translation would be, because you don't have that with just text. And that could make some things, you know, that doesn't apply to Mother Flame and Mother Frame, but that would apply to possibly to the friend one. Like, you know, depending on Kizaru saying that, like, is he referring to York in a positive light? Probably not. He's probably referring to the friends he just left to Sentomaru and the guy he's trying to kill, which is his friend. So it's like,
there's another one too where apparently the Viz called Garling the king of God Valley, and then they had to go back and fix that because he's not the king of God Valley. Like, he did not, you know, the way the Viz makes it sound like he was over here ruling the kingdom, but the Viz had to go back after a week and change that to Garling being the champion. Yeah. Like, there's so many just random things that just the Viz gets wrong. The most recent one, another one, was when Shamrock was fighting Loki, or, well, quote, fighting. And, you know, in the Viz, Shamrock doesn't deny that Loki would beat him. But in the unofficials, Shamrock is like, hey, like, even if you could fight, the result would be the same, which apparently is the correct version according to Japanese translators. So, yeah, like I said, man, if you're reading the Viz only, like, you're reading like a different story in some instances, right? You're gonna have a very different takeaway, which I wonder if that's the reason why there's so much debate sometimes in the One Piece community. It's not because like there's like, oh, like it's a reading comprehension thing, or oh, like, you know, why don't you understand the story? No. What if they just read the Viz? And that's why like we have these differing opinions. That's why, you know, this guy thinks that, or this person thinks that over there. It's because they're reading the official pipeline for One Piece, which is incorrect. Or sorry, the official One Piece pipeline. You know, because other languages they have different translators. So
I think I have two videos, and one was like positive Viz, but you know, and another one was like criticizing Viz, and I did both of them, I think, in Junction. And the point of it was like there's so much debate around this certain thing And the reality is it stems literally from translations.
Yeah.
As I was saying here, like imagine making a video and creating character profile of Loki and Luffy's interactions in as a basis for some theory that you have, and then you have someone saying like, what do you mean Luffy would fight anyone for Loki? And it's like, that is so opposite of what is being said here, that you would actually have to debate somebody on that note to even bring them along to the foundation of a theory, so it's crazy here. And then it's like other debates of like, the wings of the Pirate King. That was the video, and I was basically saying that like, whether or not the TCB or whatever is right, the point is that there was discrepancy amongst the translations up until even the anime. And I was pointing out that this is why it's important that you don't stick to just one, read all of them, or consume as many of them relevant. And if it's a point of contention, then don't just lock yourself into the Viz is right or TCB is right. Like the other ones possibly has merit to it too. But this one, my understanding right now is that like, it makes no sense for Luffy to be talking to Loki in that dialogue bubble. So Viz is just flat out wrong. This should be changed in the same light as that Garling one, because the Garling one was an egregious one that had to be changed within a week. And I remember that one was crazy because one, at the time I had a lot of theories. God Valley is a prominent topic. Like I think I talked about like 8 weeks straight because I was in so many collabs talking about my perspective thing. And then we got Garling was the king. I was like, where? Huh? And then they pull up the Viz. I'm like, huh? And that brain broke me. And then I was dealing with that. And then a week later it changed. And I was like, all right, whatever. All right, whatever. I'll just ignore that now. Like, yeah, it some things, that's where it hurts. It's like when you create unnecessary noise over something that like literally shouldn't have even gotten like the light of day.
Dude, I popped on Twitter, to find Sandman's tweet, and I already see people debating about this line that we're just talking about, right? The whole like, I'll beat all of Elbaf for you, Loki. It's like, wait a minute. Whoa. Yeah. And now the whole like Viz versus like unofficial debates popping back up, and they're like, but they're dirty unofficial people. Like I don't know, man. Like
this one's crazy. If you're batting for Viz on this dialogue bubble, I don't know what to tell you. Like it makes no sense because he's literally talking to Hired in the sentence before. If that bubble wasn't there, then maybe. But he said, then can we set him free, Hired in? Come on, it sounds like Elbaf doesn't want you around anyway. How does that contextually make sense? That doesn't make sense. Because you're supposed to erase what Zoro and Sanji saying. He's not talking to them. They're reacting. So the straightforward thing that Luffy would be saying is, then can we set him free, Hired in? Come on, it sounds like Elbaf doesn't want you around anyways. I think it'd be fun with you. And if anyone's got a problem, I'll whoop him. That makes no sense. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
that's what Luffy is saying, straight line for line. And he's not talking to Hired, so that line makes no sense.
It doesn't. I mean, like I said, Syv and Par, man, I don't know. So as far as Loki goes, do you think he's going to join the crew? Yes or no? Where do you fall in this? Because I'm on the same side as Zoro and Sanji. That's always been my problem with Loki joining, is that it just wouldn't make sense. People have been saying like, the ship can get bigger, and I get it. That is a possibility. But hear me out. That would be awful for the I mean, they could either build one, or maybe people are saying Biblo could make it bigger. But the thing is, regardless, if we get a bigger ship, that would be awful for the Straw Hats. Like, I don't get why people can't see this. Like, imagine we made a ship for Loki, the same size ship that Harald has. And keep in mind, Harald's ship would be considered tiny to Loki because Loki's bigger than Harald. We need a ship that massive to have this guy there. And the thing is that, dude, the Thousand Sunny and all the Straw Hats were able to fit comfortably on a single seat on Harden's ship. If we made a ship for Loki's size, do you know how crazy it would be if the Straw Hats were ever attacked? Quick, Jinbei, get the helm! Of course, Luffy couldn't. I'll be there in 5 days. Like, do you get what I'm saying? Like, oh, hey, look, there's a fridge. Oh, the fridge is the size of oars. Like, what? Like, it wouldn't make sense to have a ship that massive, and Loki's the only person benefiting. Like, it's insane. The best option would be if Loki could get smaller. If Loki could get smaller at will because of his devil fruit, then yes, I think this is a lot more plausible. He could shape. I've heard shape shifting. I like that theory. If he can actually change his size at will, yes, I think he will join the crew. But if he cannot, if he really is stuck as this ginormous monster of a man, I can't see it. As much as I would love to, right? I think Loki is such a fun character. He's really cool. Obviously, Luffy's going to become Pirate King. He needs heavy hitters like Loki anyways. You know, people don't see it that way, but, you know, hey, the more muscle, the better. That's one of the main reasons why I wanted Yamato to join, because Yamato was such a heavy hitter. I was like, yeah, dude, Yamato's fun. You know, just bringing another, like, really strong character alongside, you know, Sanji, Zoro, and Jinbei. Yeah, W. Loki could be the same thing, but it's just tough, like, thinking about the logistics of Loki sizing up or down, and then the Thousand Sunny and all that. That's why, like, I've always kind of fallen back on Loki joining Hardin's crew, and I get it, right? I said that Hardin's ship is too small for even Loki, but at least he can fit on the ship, right?
Yeah.
Like, he can at least fit there, right? He would be like the Frankie of the Hardin pirates, because Frankie's massive, and guess what? He's bigger than the average tribe, but he still fits on the ship. So I think Loki could just be like that, but we'll definitely see. I don't think it's bad. I just think there's a lot of hurdles we have to get over before this is like a real thing.
Yeah. For me, I'm anti the more Nakama on the ship. I've always been that way. That's always, we don't need more people. It's not better for them. It's not better for us. Less focus on everyone. And like in size context, it's like, imagine a ship where you can't even see the Straw Hats. Like every image of the ship, and then Oda would just draw specks, dust specks. And that's our main characters. That would be the reality. And it's even more so true with Loki. Anytime Loki's in a panel, we're just going to get his big toe in Luffy? Like, what's going to happen? So, it makes no sense from that angle. But ironically, this was probably my favorite version of Luffy saying, like, join my crew, because it was so big brained. It was like, this was like max Luffy brain power of like, wait a second, Hiredin isn't happy with the thing. Elbaf doesn't like him. And then like, if in order to get him absolved and all the things, the diplomatic choice would be, he could just join my crew. Hiredin may not be upset, but then I will absolve him of the crimes, and I can control him. I can retain him. And it was an option that I didn't like consider in the moment. And so when Luffy said that, I was upset because I hate the Nakama thing. But then when I heard what Luffy said, I was like, oh wait, let him cook. This is kind of cool. I like it, And then I sat down. I was like, oh wait, this is kind of a huge slap in the face for Hiredin. And then Hiredin, and I was saying like, Hiredin, don't let this rock. This is some insane disrespect to you. And then he does the anime thing. Is like, oh, is this what your instinct? Is this what your gut tells you, Straw Hat? And then I can't. My captain's guts. I gotta respect it. Like I was like, don't do it. And then he didn't. I was like, okay, he's standing on business. He goes, nah. This guy's a criminal.
Yeah.
Like something like, I'm sorry, Straw Hat. Elbaf has condemned Loki to death. You can't have him. I'm like, all right, this is good. And then I was like, and then Scopper did the best thing, because at least in the TC, I don't even want to read the Viz just yet, because I want to go from what I remember. Scopper just bypasses that conversation of Luffy's thing, and he's just like, just Hiredin, unchain him, set him free, and Viz goes, go on and unlock Loki's chain, and so that fits. They didn't ruin that, but it's just insane that now it's also Scopper's adding in, because Scopper's just like, all right, enough of the silly business. I get what you're trying to do, Luffy, but that's too complicated. Hiredin, just set him free. Just do it,
which might even be more complicated, because now we're getting into flashback territory.
True. I do. Oh, actually,
what's up?
I am curious to see how Hiredin, because I said like his response to Scopra's a little bratty. I wonder if Viz made it less bratish. It's a little more or less the same. Nah, you too, Mr. Ya. Why do you say this? I gotta hear how he says it, because in the TCB, he goes, "What was that, Ya-san?" Like that's like he says it, and it kind of like disrespectful. But here it kind of sounds like he's sad boy.
Yeah,
nah,
it makes
too,
sense
Mr.
though.
Ya.
Like, you know, I understand Harden, right? Like it's like in Bleach, if we're releasing Aizen, it's like, whoa,
Yeah.
huh? Like I get you was on the island, but really Aizen? And then the same thing goes for like what Naruto with Orochimaru. Like Orochimaru, like the guy who destroyed the Leaf Village, we're bringing him out. Like, I get why he's so apprehensive. And of course, it's personal, right? Like, Loki literally killed their dad. And Loki's had, I guarantee you, Loki has had chances to tell Harden the truth. And he never has until today. So, like, it's one of those things where, like, he never denied doing it. He's just like,
No,
oh,
I
you
would
know,
argue the
I did
opposite.
it.
Loki offered to tell him this before, and Harden gave him no.
But
moment.
Harden knows Loki as a liar, as an arsonist. Like, I guarantee you, Loki's lied so many times. He's like Usopp, dude. Like, after the 50th time this guy cries, pirates are coming, would you believe him? I don't think he would. So I understand Harden, and I go to battle for him on this one. Like, I get why he's so apprehensive.
No, but the difference here for me is one is like even liar we put on the stand, we got to hear their story like in a court, right? But in that sense, right, Loki's problem with Harden was that he just believed people who weren't even there, right? Just the sounds of the forest, right? And it's like, don't you want to hear it from the person who was there?
But what I'm saying is that we don't know if they had that conversation already. Like, what if they did talk about it and then Loki just brushed them off like usual?
And so that's where
I'm adding in like extra scenes, like what if they talked about this, and then of course like Loki just hits him with the same thing, like, oh, get on your knees, brother. And then Harden's like, okay, F you, dude. Like, what are you talking? Like, I'm trying to see why you killed my dad, and you're telling me to get on my knees. Like I understand it, right? Especially if this is like an ongoing thing. He's been chained up for 6 years. I guarantee you Harden's met this guy before, asked him at least once or twice.
I feel like I want Harden to have this. Can't have been the first time he's seen Loki post chained up, right? And
yeah,
we don't necessarily the dialogue doesn't support either way from memory, but I agree in the sense of like I could see Loki doing that whole like get on your knees thing and doing that. But what I would disagree on is that if given the opportunity to tell the story, I don't think Loki would ever lie about this story. You know what I mean? This is a particular thing. Like, we're seeing how serious he is.
There's something about prostrating yourself to your younger brother who potentially killed your father to get that story out of him that is a little bit humiliating.
Whoa, re-say that? I think I misunderstood.
Like the whole thing of like, you know, Harden getting on his knees to hear this story in the first place. Like, yeah, like I can see like why Harden might have not even had this context or had the story beforehand, and why he always just believed that the brother did it because the brother's being an asshole about it.
But I would so like if we go back to when Harden first showed up, right? Harden didn't even give him the opportunity to breathe. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't want to even hear it then. And then it took like, it was like a back and forth. Like, Harden's first thing was like, do I kill him? Like, he's chained up. Do I kill him? And then, you know, that's where they were at. And it wasn't until much later on in their interaction that now Harden's entertaining it. And then Loki's like, get on your knees, right? So then, like, from Loki's standpoint, it's frustrating. Be like, bro, I've been trying to tell you the true story, but you'd rather believe Bumblefuck over me. Like, what the hell is that? And it's like, and then Harden's like, yeah, but you've been lying your whole goddamn life.
I mean, the thing is, and then plus, like, if you're saying Loki had, you know, like, oh, like, why believe those guys than me? Loki's not making it easy either, because he's like, hey, Harden, you know, spread your butthole for me, brother. Like, if you want to hear the story about how I killed our dad, why don't you get on your knees, little guy? Like, I get it, man. Like, when you see the size comparisons and this is your younger brother, it's like, yo, like, Harden's the size of Loki's dong. Like, what are we talking about? Of course, Harden's kind of itchy about that one. And then the one flashback we have of Loki and Harden is Loki beating him up and saying, hey, your mother's a dirty blooded whore. It's like, yes, yeah, Harden doesn't want to release this guy. I get it. It makes sense.
He's a prostitute. What the fuck?
Yeah, I'm adding in extra words, but I mean, like I said, dude.
What are you, Syv and Par?
Syv and Par adding in extra dialogue. Like I said, I see that he sounds bratty. Harden does seem bratty, but I think it's like it's warranted. I do not think it's absurd that he's like acting like this. That he's so hard, like even his Grand Fleet captain saying this, like, and the thing is, like, the reason why he fights back against Luffy is because Luffy, he just got here, Luffy's carefree, he knows how Luffy is, so that's why, like, even though Luffy's the captain, his superior, he's like, whoa, like, Luffy, your instinct is telling you this, but I have somewhat firsthand information, so I get it, right? And that's why he's entertaining it even more now, because Yasan is saying it, and Yasan's been on this island, so that's why he probably values Yasan's opinion a lot more.
And yeah, I agree 100%, and I think like Luffy's standpoint too. I think like the scenario is so wild, and I love it, which is like it would be like if Luffy made a decision about Sanji's family, right? Like, this is your family. Are you like, he put the onus on Sanji, right? It's like that's your brother, that's your family, that's your stuff. You know what I mean? Wait, what's happening? What's happening?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. No, but yeah, so it's like if Luffy wouldn't do that, but in this scenario, Luffy is having to overstep. He's like, it would be like Luffy being like, "Hey, Ichiji, join my crew. I know you fucked up Sanji plenty of times, but like, join my crew, man." It'd be like that, and it's like, that's wild.
And
right?
let me tell you, EGG, if anybody doesn't like it, I'll beat them down.
Yeah.
And then Sanji's like sweating. He's like, what? Huh?
And so that is wild. And yes, I agree with like, Scopper's perspective here is huge, because like it's Hiredin's from Hiredin's point of reference, that's a more reliable decision maker here. But I feel like a natural question after this flashback, and I'd love to see how Oda would handle it. Maybe he just breezes by it. He could do it. But it's so set up for like, because naturally, I think like because of our perspective as the reader, we always entertain that like all the stories that Loki was surrounding Loki, there's something false there. It's not the truth. There's some kind of skewed narrative happening here. And when the truth comes out in Loki's story, there's obviously going to be pushback on Hiredin's side, and it's like on Scopper to validate some of the stuff, because he literally said there's weird Haki, whatever. He's going to end up validating and trying to figure out like what Loki's gonna say stuff that he doesn't fully understand. Also, he couldn't investigate because he's been like locked up. Maybe he was trying to investigate it on those when he was on the sea. He's trying to figure out what actually happened. He doesn't understand what went wrong. All he knew is a certain understanding of his dad that validated and the people who killed his dad, and he went with that. And then Scopper's probably gonna add some context. Loki maybe learned some stuff from Mosa and some other things. And by the end of it, they're going to come to a thing that exonerates Loki's reputation. And Hiredin's like would essentially be like, why didn't you tell me this earlier? And then that's where we get the conundrum of what we were just talking about. Like, was it like Hiredin's just like Loki's like, I tried to tell you, and Hiredin's like, no, you didn't. You tried to have me spread my butthole for the story, bro.
Exactly. I think that'd be fun.
And then Loki's like, you only visited me once. Why wouldn't you visit your poor little brother? And it's
or
like,
it could be a thing where
my mom a dirty blooded whore.
It could be one of those things where Harden's like, brother, I believe you right away. And then Loki's like, what? And he's like, yeah, dude, you could have just told me your side and I would have been fine with it. Like, the problem is you never told me anything. You want me to spread my butthole. Like, yeah, I cannot wait to see what happens by the end of the flashback. But now we get to the actual flashback. We go 14 years into the past, Arst Castle in Elbaf. We see Loki and Jarl arriving there. And Loki, it's interesting because he doesn't have Ragnir in that panel where we see him. He has a brand new hammer. It kind of looks like a toy hammer, if anything. Right? Just color it in red and, give it to a kid. Or color it in brown and he's a judge. Going back to our favorite character in One Piece, Judge Vinsmoke. But yes, they were both summoned to the throne room. And we don't know why, right? The old man wants to talk. So they're showing up. And it's kind of fun seeing Loki interact with other giants because it looks like Loki and Jarl kind of got along to an extent. And I feel like Loki and every other giant is the same way, right? Up until the murder this day. But yeah, I love to see it. But he does say, hey, like, what does our old man want with me anyways? Or my old man want with me anyways, right? He's a world government dog. These are the people who killed Rocks. If Elbaf is going in that direction, they'll make an enemy out of me. And then that is when Jarl says, lower your volume. I'm an old man now. I'd rather leave the politics to the younger folk. And then Loki says, and that lackadaisical attitude is exactly the problem. It's how you end up with peace-addicted children with no idea how to swing a weapon. And it's pretty crazy because, this is weird based on what we know that the world government wants with Elbaf. The world government does not want peace-addicted children. In fact, they want the opposite. They want soldiers. But Harald is creating these peace-addicted kids, and he's telling Elbaf that this is the world government's direction? Like, there's some kind of, like, Chinese telephone miscommunication going on here. I think King Harald is lying to his kingdom, potentially. And he's saying that it's the world government's doing. Maybe, I think this could be the case, but maybe, Harald wanted to undermine the world government. He did not want to create soldiers. So he had to build a school. He had to make Elbaf get defanged. But Elbaf doesn't want that, right? Maybe all of Elbaf is like, no. Like, why would we do this? King Harald, to circumvent that, had to bring in a bigger threat, saying, oh, the world government is demanding we do this. And then that's when all the giants are like, oh, like, yeah, okay, sure. I guess we will do it then. Maybe that's it, but I don't know. Like, it's so odd. Like, even with Harden earlier in the chapter, he said that Loki supported the world government based on his actions that day. So it's like, what? Huh? Like, the waters, brother, they're getting muddy. Like, you could probably go in there and get, like, I don't know, a fish up your cock.
Yeah, that's crazy. Where was the line again? I do want to reread that with the when did Harden say that Loki was acting in favor of the world government? That was
in Viz. It says it right here. After Loki says Elbaf has me already, Harden says, is that a fact? Because I can certainly see you betraying Elbaf and joining the side of the WG instead. You more or less already did that once. How can I possibly trust you? So he implies that, Loki helped the world government already.
Yeah. So, and going back to this flashback, I'm looking at it a little bit separated in the sense of the world government, Harald, and the direction that Loki basically despises, because he's saying they'll make an enemy out of me, meaning like they're not there yet. So like when he's saying that, like if Elbaf is going in that direction, so in this moment he's saying that Harald, I have no interest in a man who'd sell his soul to the world government. So he currently believes that Harald already sold his soul to the world government. And he's saying, if Elbaf goes in the direction of the world government, then they'll make an enemy out of me. And then Jarl goes, lower your volume. I'm an old man now. I'd rather leave the politics to the younger folks. And
Yeah.
what Loki's saying is the problem is that he's saying that Yarul is so lackadaisical, and it's like, I don't need to be involved. Let the younger people figure it out. And he's saying that that's the issue, is all the warriors are giving up, and that's a separate thing. That's the root of the problem, that Yarul isn't like putting his foot down and giving Harald resistance. Like, what do you mean? And the problem, the lackadaisical problem, created the peace addicted children, not necessarily saying that that is the same vein that created the world government direction. I'm looking at like two separate problems that Loki's identifying, and it's in a scenario right now where it's vague enough where we don't know if they're one in the same decision making thing. Like, Harald is the direction that Loki seems to believe that Harald is bringing it is in this creating peace addicted children is the direction of associating with the world government. Like, that's it like, I don't know if that's fully where we're at like right now, or what perspective the Giants have for what Harald is doing. But I also, want to point out that, like, I really like this conversation because, like, Loki seemed like a rage baiter for most of what we saw, like him talking to Luffy, him talking to Shamrocks. He was trying to like just piss someone off, like, in every instance he could, to manipulate to get what he wants. But here we're seeing him like literally, he's a little brash, but he's speaking politically with Yarul and trying to, like, he's dissecting it, and Yarul's not disagreeing. Yarul actually concedes. He's just like, that's the age we live in.
And the thing is that Loki says something that resonates with me. Yarul says, that's the age we live in. My great-granddaughter doesn't fight. She's adorable. But Loki says, soft old dullard. Train her up. Use some discipline. That's my problem with Ronya. She is a little loser. I was going to say like 20 different words, and I ran down the list. Like, okay, she's still technically a child, but she's boring. She is
why
a
did
wimp,
Ronya
a
come
coward.
Into this? You mean Ilva?
Oh yeah, wait, his great granddaughter's Ilva.
You keep doing this.
I keep on doing that. Okay, yeah, no, Ilva gets a pass. She's cool, but Ronya, you replace this with Ronya's, great grandfather, and yeah, I'd be pissed, dude. Like, what? Why are we raising these bumblefucks, brother? Like, what is going on? And that's why, it goes back to our favorite character, Judge. At least he gave them the hard hand, brother. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't see why Elbaf is going down this direction. But, to counteract not to counter your point, because like you said, it's vague. But I do think that the world government direction and the peace-addled idiots, I think that's one and the same, but I can see where, like, you draw that line. I see what you mean now. But, speaking of vagueness, just hopping over for a second, after Loki hops in that room, this is a hot topic of debate as well. King Harald, he's getting stabbed. We don't know why, but we see that silhouette. Is this simply King Harald's mustache and his armor, -- cloak or cape or whatever, or is he in a demon transformation? I have seen a lot of people who are very adamant on both sides, so much so that I ended up holding a poll because of it. I asked, like, is it a demon form or is it regular? 4.5 thousand votes. 54% say it is a demon form, while 46% say nothing. It is just his stash and armor, which I think is pretty crazy, right? Almost a 50-50 split in the fan base as far as like what is happening here. It's one thing if, like, a few people saw it or a vocal minority. No, like it's half and half, man. And I gotta ask, I think you said it's a demon form. I think you were like on the same boat as me, where we're kind of like on the fence. But how do you feel about this? Do you think this is a demon?
I don't know if we talked about this that in depth. Maybe I forgot, but
yeah,
I was exceptionally tired that day. But I don't think so. Like, we haven't seen, like, when Loki transforms, right? Does he get bigger? Because if he does, then this wouldn't, because he's like King Harald is the same stature discrepancy that Loki has that hired into Loki, normal giant, right? Harald, normal giant. He's about like double the size, triple the size, like if you give perspective here. So like he's not necessarily bigger. So if he was demon form, like a reverse Idami type of thing, then he would probably be bigger. Like we saw Dory Brogy literally dwarf their allies. They were the same size and then they dwarfed them. So I don't know if it's something like that. And as far as Oda has emphasized that he has like that weird like vampire shoulder thing, so I don't think that those are horns. And we know that in his old we saw the super flashback 109 years ago, he has these horns, but we know that he ripped them off, so he doesn't have them here. So that's the other thing, is that if he got demonic form, he would have horns again, seemingly, because all the giants that we've seen so far grew horns. So like I would imagine that if he was in a demonic thing, he would have his horns again, slash new horn, slash the demonic horn. So I think this is just base from what I'm looking at. But oh, I remember how we talked about it. The discrepancy of like, are the guards the issue, or was Harald the issue? Like, were the guards like manipulated and they were taken over, and that's why they killed Harald? Or was Harald like showing up like as a demon, and then they had to kill him because they were like, wait, what is Harald doing? And so they had to kill, like, we don't see it, but maybe Harald killed a few of them, and so they were like, do we die or do we kill him? Right. So it could have been that. And I think that's how we discussed it. Yeah. But appearance wise, I'm seeing maybe more whatever. But now that I'm looking at it again, like it's a silhouette, so we can't see either his back shoulder's up, like where it would be behind his head, and then the other shoulder blade is there. But we also see at the bottom there's a pointy thing, so that's where his shoulders are and his head's extended. So then what is that random like tusk? Because the other thing is his horns come from the top of
People are saying it's like his mustache.
So yeah, then
and he does have a mustache, but why is it like so protruding? You know, like I don't know, like, and it's tough too, because like somebody brought up a good point. I mean, it's a good point, but it could be nothing. But they essentially said like, hey, like if King Harald wasn't a demon, then why did Oda silhouette him? Especially since we get to see what he looks like in this chapter, and since we already know what old Harald looks like, right? We have the picture in the throne room. So why hide it? And it kind of goes back to what we talked about when we saw Domi Reversi in the beginning. But it's like, dude, we do not know if Imu can whip out other forms of demonic possession, right? Yeah. It could be the Quarrel contract was just for the giants here in Elbaf, but what if there's a different one that, you know, this guy could have? And of course, like we go back to the scratch marks in the throne room, right? All the soldiers here have spears and swords and etc., but there were scratch marks on the wall. So there is somebody who transformed, whether it's Loki, Harald, or even a Holy Knight or Imu. Somebody's transforming here.
Yeah. I think for the silhouette is obviously a very interesting question mark of like, why we already know what he looked like in the portrait, but I did bring up a point earlier when the portrait came out, is that I said it in a joking way, which is that he looks so evil in that portrait. And it's like, it's so funny because if that's like a portrait that he commissioned or whatever, he was mean mugging the entire time. He's like, yeah, get my darkest, scariest angle, right? Like he didn't put out a smile. He looks scary. And, you know, it's not like a picture, like a painter painted that, you know? So I was joking about that. But I was also like bringing up the point that that's not like that, because it was an image, like, that's not necessarily how he looked in the because wait, maybe I'm confusing it, but I'm pretty sure we had a silhouette of him and it was like his face was silhouetted, and then we had the image of him like in the back, like on a picture, right? That's how it was. And it was like, wait, why did we silhouette his face there in the thing? Let me double check that though, because I forget what order that was in. What's his name? Harald, One Piece.
Harald.
Harald. Haralde. 1136. Let's see this.
Yeah, it's funny. We always call him Harald. Like there's an O in there, but it's an A. So it could just be Harald, which
Haralde. Cool.
Harald. Yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
I mean, somebody also pointed out the fact that there's like smoke all around King Harold's feet.
Mhm.
And they're like, yo, like maybe King Harold did transform, or maybe he was summoned through an abyss circle, which I thought was a fun idea. Like maybe the soldiers saw like a crazy pentagram on the ground, and they're like, yo, guys, like I think a monster's gonna pop out of this. So they all like gear up and they're like ready to stab whatever comes through, and then it's their king. Like, what if this is an accident? Like they're like, oh,
Hey.
King Harold, we're so sorry. We thought a demon was gonna pop out. Why'd you come out of this circle?
Yeah, he used the abyss. That would be the saddest way to
Yeah,
that'd be
like
hilarious.
imagine in League of Legends if there's like friendly fire and you TP somewhere and somebody just sees the TP going on and they just gear up all their ults to just destroy that guy, and it's your mundo. It's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. The so I'm seeing it now. So the image that we got, it was a picture. Oh, it was of the throne. There was scratches. It looks like Haki, but yeah, it's scratches on the thing. That was 1136, and it silhouetted his face. And then we got the image, and it was the portrait. And he's in his older state. But what I was saying back then was that like that might be like that's not necessarily the day he died. That's like earlier on, right? Like he didn't like that could be what he looked like years before when
Yeah.
he died. And so I was playing with the idea that it's kind of like Whitebeard, mustache, but Whitebeard in the sense that Oda gave us the oh, he's the world's strongest man, you know, just like how the greatest king in history of Elbaf, and he's the strongest as well, and all this stuff, right? But then when we got Whitebeard, he was wired up IV. He's dying of some disease, and in like our image, like yes, he looks really strong, but like he's dying of like some form of like heart disease, cancer, liver. I said liver failure because that makes the most sense because how much he drinks. But like you know. The point is that maybe he silhouetted him here because he might be frail looking here. It could be that he's not like he doesn't look like his built form that we see 109 years ago. It could be that when he was like at this point he was much weaker, and that could also add to the peace addled kids that he's raising. Like he's not a warrior anymore. It could be something like that. And there could be a reason why he looks like that. Maybe it's a disease. Maybe there's something that happened that the world government did to him, because that's another thing that we know later on in the chapter is that he did make it to Marijuana. We don't know what happened there. So maybe something did happen and that changed certain things, right? But that I'm assuming that it's something like that, because he also looks a little skinnier. I know he's standing on the side, but like maybe he looks like weaker. Maybe he's frail, and because then that justifies to me in a lot of ways where it's like Harold base and demonic Harold, could they even have hurt him? like the way the statue, like the way not statue, the way like his reputation preceded him was that he like regular people couldn't even fight him. You know what I mean? Like so then like he willingly let this happen, you know what I mean? So then it's like whether he's in demonic form and he's like at the strongest, and then like these warriors just like and like protected Elbaf 100%, because like if they didn't, then he would have let loose. But if this is like base the strongest Herald, the one that could clash with Loki and whatever, then even then, how did they jump him like this? Like, did he let that happen? Like, huh? So then I'm thinking like, oh, maybe he was weaker, and you know, like if the soldiers banded together, they could take him out, and it's not that crazy of a feat. Would make sense, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Maybe even ask
So
him to do it, and he's like, "I'm gonna turn off my regeneration. Here you go. Have some shots."
Yeah. But also, I the whole maybe he was the abyss. Maybe he has a mark here, because the strange Haki that Scopper and whatever they sensed on that day, right? They said strange. What was the word? Right? Strange
or ominous
emanating.
Haki. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, when is that pinpointed? Because the last time Scopper said that was he justifying his trip to the castle when the Straw Hats were there. I sense a strange Haki. What happened? The Holy Knights teleported there.
Yeah.
It wasn't because the Holy Knights exerted. It wasn't like Gunko used Haki. She's used her Devil Fruit to dispatch the thing, and then But the main thing was the Haki, the lightning. Everyone was wondering, like, who's sensing this? No one apparently. And the Abyss seemingly would make sense as that's what they noticed, that strange Haki again. And maybe because if we're already seeing like the stuff happen, maybe Harald was the one who used it. That'd be kind of wild if that was the case. But it would also be crazy if he got spawn killed.
Yeah.
By his troops.
I love that idea. But yeah,
I would do it.
There's a lot of just randomness here, man. Like, it's hard to pinpoint what's exactly going on. And speaking of that, you know what else is hard to pinpoint?
What?
What day it is. Because that is when we cut over to Scopper and Shanks chilling in a bathtub. And, you know, Scopper's like, it's been a while since we had a bath together, man. 3-4 years. And then Shanks is like, no, dude, it's been like 10. What are you talking about?
Plus.
10 plus, yeah. So what is going on here in your opinion? Is this time dilation? What's up with this? I am personally on the boat that time dilation exists to an extent, right? It's a spectrum, but I don't think time is necessarily moving faster or slower on Elbaf compared to the rest of the world. I simply think that Elbaf really messes with your perception of time. I think you brought up the idea, and I loved it. You know, longer days, longer nights. It could be like that, or maybe just because like of Elbaf's, I don't know, atmosphere. You just kind of like blink and you just forget what time it is. And we know that these guys do not have clocks. You know, they don't have watches. I mean, they exist in the world of One Piece, but characters usually don't whip them out. So that is why, like, you can't really tell what time it is. I said, I don't think like it messes with your body right now, but yeah, that's currently what I'm at. I think the time dilation theories in general got a lot of oomph in this week's chapter. But what do you think about this?
So, and basically, isolating it, people are talking about Scopper's sense of time being so skewed, right? That's kind of what it's mainly talking about here.
Yeah.
Why is he registering 3-4 years? I can see it. I don't know. Because like, you know, like I do that shit all the time. My baby cousins come up to me. They're like, one of them graduated high school. And I'm like, what? What do you mean? You were just asking me about like what do you do, like how do you pack your backpack for school, like which school you should, like I don't need this. I remember learning how to walk, and I'm like, how long ago was that? And I was like, I'm thinking he's like 12 now. Nope, 19. And I'm like, what? And my wife constantly has to remind me of all the like ages and the people, and she's like, yeah, like they're this old, this old. We just went to his 11th birthday. I'm like, what? I thought he was 6. That shit always happens. I feel like in anime that happens a lot more. Older people, you know, you know, because I was gonna bring it up in the scope of you saying Ronya over and over again instead of Ilva, and like it's funny because I literally like I always forget the name of kids, and there's a justification for it in this specific thing. But I was joking with my wife and like, bro, this is crazy. I'm becoming our parents, where our parents just like called all the kids the wrong names because they were just like, who are you again? Like, I'm literally like that right now. I'm like, who's that 2-year-old? Who's that 3-year-old? That one, is that this kid? And she's like, no, it's not. And I'm like, damn, I'm hitting the old people stride, right? So I could see this just being like, you know, Scopper being old, you know, it's also harder for him to sense because his kid ages differently, right? Like he has to grasp a third, like because like you could also look at it as, yes, the giants age a third slower and add some time dilation, but you could also throw that in, and from Scopper's perspective, it's super screwy because his kid could be 30, but he looks like a 10-year-old. So in his mind, it's screwed up because it's like, wait a second, my kid looks 10. It's only been 10 years. But then Shanks shows up. It's like, brother, it's been 30 years. He's like, what? My kid looks 10. You know, it could be from that point of view, and which got acknowledged in the chapter, the whole third the age, and, you know, get the conversions. So like, and we kind of get that here. What's it been, 3 or 4 years? And then the last time they had taken a bath would be like 12 years ago, right? Or 11 or whatever, because Captain died 10 years ago. So 10 years, and then they were together a year before that, so 11 years. So on that trip would have been 12 years ago. 3 or 4 years, times it by 3, there you go. You get the exact translation there. You could say that way without the time dilation. It could be purely on perspective, like it messes with the context of Elbaf screws up your perception of time, maybe not literally, but like effectively, because everything is aging slower. Everything is so large you can't grasp your mind around it. It could be something like that. Has it really been that long? It must feel like an eternity for you then. I think that line is really interesting, because if it were time dilation, that line is like acknowledging it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if there were time dilation, then the other question that I think people would need to address is who's aware of it. And if no one's aware of it, then that line doesn't make sense. But if they are people who are aware of it, then that line is crazy, because then Scopper's like choosing, like, I don't know what reaction would be normal to that thing. But Louis Arnott was like, hey, don't stay here too long, right? So it is kind of interesting. But the conversation carries kind of normally after that, which like then it's kind of like interesting, because like at least from Shanks' perspective, it's just like yeah, man, you missed like my life has completely changed last time I saw you. Right? That seems like a normal conversation to me. I don't think like because if it were time dilation and Scopper was like acknowledging it there, then surely Shanks would be like, wait, what are you talking about? What do you mean? Like, why would it feel like an eternity for me then? Right? So I feel like I don't know. It's weird. I acknowledge the time dilation. There's something there, but it's hard to place where it could be if it exists. I don't know where it would, because like I'm still on the boat that the timeline is too. I'm sure there's geniuses, like top of the line, the peak creme of the crop of our community that's pieced together why the timeline doesn't make sense. And if you add time dilation, then it makes sense. But I'm too pea-brained to piece that together. I'm struggling with days of the week in my current life. And so like, them missing up days and whatever, it makes sense for me, because I barely, is it Tuesday? Is it Wednesday? I don't even know, right? So I'm sure there's some place where it makes sense, but right now the timeline 14 years ago, right, that lines up with the Gomu Gomu. If that fruit were the Gomu Gomu in the thing, lines up with Luffy whenever, when he's 8, so 12 years ago, getting the fruit in that timeline, being stolen. But even then, Shanks having his arm here, like, that kind of lines up in weird ways too. So it's like, I don't know how time dilation would work if it was like literally time dilation, right? Like, it's kind of funky.
Yeah, I think it is here. I think it's all perception based. I mean, even when Shanks was here earlier, when Kid was attacking, he just said that he lost track of time even. I think when you're just on Elbaf, you just forget what's happening, because the place is so whimsical, because it's so massive. Like, just time gets not like distorted, but you just don't really know what day
I agree with that. I agree with that. The part where I'm drawing the line is it literal time dilation.
Yeah,
like
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case. At least I don't know. That's a tough one, but we'll see.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think originally when people were bringing it up, they meant a literal time distortion.
Yeah,
and that's where it's like I more agree with the perspective one. But when I say I draw the line is like I don't have the timeline.
Yeah, no, I get you.
Lined up to validate that part, but yeah.
So they go on, and of course, they call Shanks the Child of Destiny, and with that, we also see his tattoo on his right above the elbow, right? And it looks like the same mark that Killingham and Sommers has. It's pretty much 1-to-1. The mark that's on their bandage or sash. Of course, Shanks is missing like this arch that goes right above it, or like at the tippy top. But yeah, it looks like Shanks is I think I talked to Braga. He put it the best way possible. If you were to put this in Pokemon perspective, Shanks is the de-evolution, And those guys are the evolved versions of like Eevee, for example. So it looks like Shanks, if he kept on going in line with the world government, maybe he would have gotten that final mark on his arm. But we don't know what that is, right? It could be a world government logo, a Holy Knight logo. It could be the Abyss mark, or it's both. There's a lot of questions with this. And then, of course, like, if this is the Abyss mark, and if this is a mark of Emu's powers, did Shanks regenerate back in the past? Did he have a monster transformation? Could Griffin actually transform? Like, why did the Sea King take his arm if he could just come back to life, like, or, regenerate? I think this does open a lot of weird but interesting doors for Shanks, and it's fun seeing this, right? Like, Shanks being the child of destiny. Like, how does that even fit in? Like, how do they know it's him? Like, whatever they saw back at Laugh Tale, like, that pretty much confirmed that Shanks is that guy. So maybe Joy Boy described who he was waiting for, and it just matched Shanks. Like, oh, like, there's a red-haired kid that's eventually gonna come here. Like, oh, Shanks, that's you. Like, you're the child of prophecy. Like, I'm not too sure how you do that.
In a treasure chest.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And then we come to find out later that, that kid was Luffy or something. Or maybe, Shanks is the child of destiny, and then he simply passed it on to Luffy after he ate the Gumu Gumu. Like, it's a really oddball conversation. And I guess I just want to ask you, but did Shanks have Holy Knight powers or no?
Yeah, it's hard. Do you have the chapter where we see like Sommers with that mark? I just want to like look at it myself. I haven't had time.
If you just type in One Piece Sommers intro, you can find an image of him on Google. It's on the first picture where he gets dressed. So after he gets dressed, you see it on his arm, and then Killingham, when he first spawns in, he has it on his arm as well.
Yeah, so they have it's an armband.
Yeah, it's an armband.
Shanks has it as a tattoo because I remember people saying it's the same thing, and I was like, it's the armband, but like Sommers has a tattoo, and that tattoo is way crazier. The tattoo that Sommers showed, it looks like a different symbol, a symbol that, funny enough, talk a decent amount about Saint Brice. The ship that fell out of the sky in Alabasta, the symbol on that ship is the same symbol that Sommers has on his arm. And that's where, like, I remember people saying, like, they were saying Abyss mark in the thing. And I was, like, because I didn't say Abyss mark, I was like, oh, wow, the tattoo. I saw it. Didn't notice it, like, completely immediately. But I didn't jump to the Abyss thing because I think people, like, we don't know what the Abyss is. We don't know if it's the mark there. We don't know if it's a tattoo. So that's where it's very difficult for me to say whether or not he had the powers or not. I do think that tattoo is pretty crazy because one thing that we can say for certain is that Shanks did not have that tattoo while he was on the Roger Pirates. He got that after disbanding. The Roger Pirates disbanded. And we say that because we can look in the Odin flashback, and they showed him wearing short sleeve, and there's no tattoo above his elbow. That, if this were some kind of retcon type of thing, then that would be a problem in my sense. Like, that would make a retcon bad because then it's not consistent with that flashback. But, people are calling this a retcon to chapter 1. The reason why he got his arm chopped off is the Abyss mark. And whether the context of that, whatever, that's where it's hard for me to say, like, what is that symbol and why is it important? I like the de-evolutionized version of, like, whatever. But did he ever have the Holy Knight powers? I feel like it makes the context of, like, when Shamrock said, like, oh, Shanks showed up and, like, but, like, he wasn't fit for us, right? Like, he's still filth, right? That was his understanding of that. But it is still curious about, like, why Shanks ended up going to Meridraw, under what context, because he wanted to have a pirate crew. If I were to say that there's two pinpoints of inflection in Shanks's character, one is the Luffy moment, right? Because he went from a guy who's just like doing stuff, whatever. But even then, he raided a world government ship before, like, that moment where, like, Luffy ate the fruit and said, come find me a great pirate. But then he became a Yonko and stuff like that, like, around that time. So that's an inflection point. But the other inflection point is after the Roger Pirates disbanded, Buggy left Shanks they were both like, we're gonna make the greatest pirate crew, and mine will compete with yours, and we're gonna figure out which pole is the bigger pole or whatever, and I'm gonna beat your ass when I'm a pirate. And then a year goes by, and Buggy sees Shanks, and Shanks goes, you want to just chill out, bro? Like, and then Buggy's like, what? You're not aiming for Pirate King? You were the child of fate, essentially. We all believed that you would be the guy, right? And so something to me happened in between that time of Roger getting executed, and them disbanding, specifically Shanks. And I think that that's maybe when he went to the Holy Land. Maybe that's when he got the tattoo. That may be affecting his will, maybe, possibly. And then when his arm got bit off, that's when that mark gets, removed. And now he's more like his previous self, which is exactly what Buggy was acknowledging. He's like, yo, what happened? Why is Shanks moving now? He literally is. This is, again, I want to emphasize, this is Shanks's best friend, like from childhood. He's the closest person, to the point that I think the best comparison would be when the news broke that Sabo killed Cobra, and Luffy literally broke character and was like, that's not Sabo's upbringing. Listen, you guys don't know the socio-political upbringing that Sabo had. He does not want to kill people. Yes, he's on that position. Like, Luffy became like a politician in that moment, describing the war crime that Sabo was going through. And it's like, yeah, like, he broke down his childhood for us. And it's like, that's the same thing with Buggy and Shanks. Buggy knows Shanks and knows how crazy it was for him to not choose to be the pirate, and how crazy it was that after all these years he starts moving. To me, that's huge. And it's like, what are those inflection points? And it's like that mark removing whatever, like, being involved on Shanks, that has to mean something. I don't know if it's the Abyss, and I don't know, because like, then if you carry that out, that logic, then it's like the Holy Knights, maybe. And I was kind of thinking about it on stream. This is where the token Naruto conversation would come into play. The curse marks, Orochi's curse marks, where it's like, the more you assimilated with it, because you could get the curse mark and then die because you couldn't assimilate to it well, right? But you could also get the curse mark and like be cracked at it, and your whole body transforms, and you're like a pro at it. What's the guy's name? G starts with the J, I think. The guy with like, I forget his name. Point is that you, like, Sasuke did that too, to a certain extent. He like grew wings, the most cursed wings I've ever seen.
Jugo.
Jugo, yeah, Jugo is the most cracked at the curse mark thing, and it could be that. It could be that the Abyss mark, like, it's kind of similar to Brago was saying, is that the more aligned, the more you accept whatever it gives you, the demonic powers, the more powerful you can get with it. And that's where it's like Shanks wasn't utilizing it, and that's why it was like basic. It was in the super basic form. Whereas like, if you look at like Sommer's tattoo, Sommer's looks more like Sai, right? Like, Sommer has years before he gets the size level. But yeah, like, this is it's pretty interesting, because I think I would like it if it was that Shanks had the powers, but I don't know. I haven't played with the idea too heavily, because it affects the story a lot.
Yeah, like, just think about like the Blackbeard fight. If Shanks could regen and Blackbeard still scarred him, think about the Mihawk fight, and like the whole thing of like, oh, the swordsman debate. Like, I think there's so much fun to be had if Shanks had powers. And it's sad because, Shanks didn't want this life, brother. He says it himself. He wished that he was just a pirate with Buggy. Just imagine Shanks and Buggy sailing around, killing towns and civilians and robbing people. Like, that's a good timeline Shanks right there. Yeah, that's a happy Shanks. Well, which I'm joking, right? I feel like,
yeah,
if him and Buggy got together, they would be damn near unstoppable. Like, Buggy and Shanks's charisma combined, oh my god. Like, and then plus, like, Buggy wouldn't be like a washed up has-been like he was when we saw him at the East Blue. Like, he'd be different. He'd be completely different. And I saw like somebody did a drawing of like Buggy, and they essentially just photoshopped out the nose and just made him look normal, like the same face, right? Nothing changes. It's just the makeup is gone, the nose is gone. And dude, Buggy damn near looks like the main villain of the story. Like, he looks great. He has so much aura. I was like, man, if
Yeah.
Shanks got with Buggy, I wonder if Buggy would be like so much more cool. I mean, he is cool now, but you're just different.
Just want to throw it out there just to clarify because a lot of people don't always forget this. That is Buggy's real nose, though.
Yes, that is Buggy's real nose. That's his real sniffer. So you can't get rid of it. But if it ever comes off, brother, like, my God, Buggy looks awesome. But
I always find it funny because people would say that, and they're like, Impel Down would have removed the nose, and we would have got Giga Chad, Buggy.
Yeah, Giga Chad, Buggy in a cell.
Yeah,
also,
yeah.
I'm on Twitter right now, and people are just debating about TCB versus the officials. And it's just everywhere. People are just going on and on.
See, like, I'm not on Twitter, right? And my prescription, if I were a doctor to these people debating on Twitter, just stop it. Just come onto our channel,
dude,
the Size channel, watch the Parcast.
Oh my God,
we hash it out right here. And there's no debate.
Somebody pulled up the Viz official for Spanish and French, and they have the same translation as TCB. So people who are like, oh, wait for the official, Viz is always correct. Literally, Viz is fighting themselves, brother. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm fighting ghosts. It's like the whole Adam Tree thing again. Like, I'm getting one guide. One guy comments, oh, beside the official, Viz, I love sucking Viz's cock. And then I'm just like over here just fighting this battle over and over.
Dude, you're not getting one guide. 100%. This is the thing. Like, I remember making videos and people were upset that I would use like the TCB translations. But I consistently will put the official translations on the thing, like in a video, but I will reference all the translations and I'll frequently put the TCB there. But like as for panel wise, I would use the Viz. And like when I used an interpretation that wasn't hinging on the Viz per se, people were like, but that's not the real translation. I was like, what is a real like literally short circuiting my brain with that. Like, it's not a one guy thing. It's a problem with just global understanding. Like, it's like, bro, a different language. Like, you can't just translate 1-to-1. That doesn't work with any language.
Here it is. 20 seconds ago, even Sandman jumped in. He says Viz officially is incorrect. As he said, my translation is, it looks like Elbaf doesn't need you. Things are way more fun with you around, and if you step out of line, I'll be the one to take you down. That's what Luffy says to Loki.
So that's funny because my disagreement was it makes more sense for Luffy to continue his conversation with Harald because the beginning and end of it is to Harald. But Sandman saying that the dialogue itself is sounding like it's talking to Loki. And so in that context, but then he flips the last line of which again, like I'm gonna beat their asses. Like
Syv and Par, dude. They say that Loki's the arsonist, brother. That's Syv and Par. Man, he's setting fires everywhere, man. This guy,
dude. What if? I think Syv and Par might be a Twitter investor. Every stroke of the pen, he fuels days, if not weeks, of discourse, years sometimes of misinformation. And like, if you wanted Twitter to stay alive, if you had a vested interest in discourse, then monopolizing it through One Piece, he could be doing that, dude. Maybe he just gets his rocks off every time someone says his name on Twitter. Like he does a filter search and he's like, I got 40,000 mentions this week. That's way better than last. He doesn't even look at the context. He's like, so many people are talking about me. That'd be so funny. That sounds like an anime villain though.
Oh, dude. Yeah, he's not even on he's not even on Twitter though. He's a Blue Sky official member.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, it's all coming together now. it all makes sense.
Hey, I have a Blue Sky, I just don't use it.
Ooh, Par. That's so we go on. And we see that ominous Haki coming out of the castle. We see the black lightning. People are dying. The doors are locked. A lot of bad stuff, as I would call it, is going down. We see Jarl get stabbed by King Harald's sword. And then the forbidden devil fruit of Elbaf is getting stolen. Do you think that is the Gumu Gumu no Mi? Or do you think it's a different devil fruit entirely? Who's in the room? Is it a Holy Knight? Is it Loki? Does Loki even have a devil fruit? There's so many goddamn questions here. I'm just going to throw mine out real quick. I feel like this is the Gumu Gumu no Mi. I think this is a Holy Knight here. And then Shanks eventually takes it back from Cypherpole, which it's weird, Cypherpole bringing the fruit back when technically the Holy Knight should be the ones who are doing it, but it's strange. Another thing is that Loki. I do think that he has a devil fruit. He just might not have this one, or it could be one of those situations where there's two devil fruits in the security room, and the Holy Knight dash Cypherpole only took one, and then Loki ate the other one. We have no clue. It is very ambiguous. I tell people this all the time, but for this chapter especially so. When it comes to making theories about One Piece, it's not always that easy, right? People think it's easy to form that opinion, but brother, we got like literal dots on a map, and we have to like draw a Superman figure out of that. Like, how do we do that? It's hard to formulate a really good opinion that is backed up by facts, because we do not have a lot of facts right now. But yeah, with that being said, though, Par, where are you with all of this?
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty confusing. I like the idea that there's more than one treasure, because like Odin's, that's like not conflating Harald and Odin, but Odin, mythological Loki's dad, Thor's dad, he had like a vault and had many like restricted / treasures, and that's like Thor's hammer was gifted to him. Not saying that was in the treasure room, but Marvel did do a thing where the basement, and then there was like literally world-ending weapons in there, and Loki chose one, and I think the Tesseract was one of them. And so it's like there's, I wouldn't be shocked if there was multiple things in this room that was like insane, especially at that time, because like in our time it got looted, but in their time it's fully stocked. It's like, it might be that like Harald was like, nobody knows this room. It might be that Harald wasn't teleporting from somewhere. He was just stepping out of the secret door in the panel. Everyone's like, oh, what the heck? Who was that? And then they held their thing and started poking at him through the thing. And then that's how he died. But jokes aside, as far as like the Gomu Gomu. Okay, so starting there, I think the simplest logical answer is that yes, it's the Gomu Gomu. Timeline fits. We're talking about Nika, like the fruit, they revere it. I think it's a little weird, not weird, but like, this is, if Nika was their royal family thing, why don't they take it? What are they protecting it for? Do they, what based off the Harley text and whatever information they have, it gives you no directive of what they should do. You know what I mean? Like, because that's the usual thing with like prophecies, right? Like Madame Charlie had like a thing, and so she insinuated that meant that she had to be antagonistic towards Luffy. When the reality that she came to is like, well, I don't know when this future is, but maybe, hey, look, this is a context where our own citizenship wants Fishman Island to be burned down because it's better that way. But she couldn't fathom that potential in the prophecy, right? When she saw Luffy standing over Fishman Island being burned to the ground, she's like, oh my God, he's a villain, right? And so that's where it's like these prophecies, and the Harley text specifically, the Harley text doesn't give you a guideline of what you should do to wait for a thing. That's where like the true history, what like Odin was like, I need to open up the borders. There's a certain level of what like Laughtail gave the people that heard the history, and versus like what the like prophecies / historical thing that the giants have. So that's where it's weird of like, why would they just hold on to the Nika fruit? Why would they not just give it to someone? Didn't Harald take it? What did Harald know that made him hold on to it? But I think, again, going back to it, I think that the logical thing that this is the Gomu Gomu. But the part where I'm probably diverging from the popular thought is that I don't think that this is a Holy Knight. I think this is a third party. It might even be like a Mosa type. Like, it could be Mosa, it could be someone else. And that would be where like they sent Cypherpole to like try to get it after the fact. And when they successfully retrieved it, who successfully retrieved it from the the outcome of whoever this is. But and I say that because right now at the moment, it's like it's just like the parties that are existing, it's kind of odd. I don't know, like we don't see a Holy Knight here. We haven't seen the lightning whatever to summon them here. Because surely if Harald and Loki were at the castle, like we're getting the flashback here up until this point. I mean, I'm sure maybe they were here earlier. It doesn't change the fact, it could be them. But it can't be Loki. I don't think it's Yarul. Can't be Harald. Hiredin's not invited. The guards, and then this room's also secret. This room's also a secret. So it's like, would the Holy Knights know that? Like, I don't know. Like, that's also a weird thing. Like, this seems like an insider person, but also like somehow a defector. So I would imagine this is like someone that Harald trusts. And the question also is who would Harald trust? And I think about in again, in Marvel, but also in Norse mythology and Greek mythology and mythology in general, there's a contingency plan. If the wife always is oh, we gotta set the kids free, I gotta protect this one thing, and it's much better if I just toss this into the ocean than give this over to the evil people, right? Toki did that. Toki literally did that. I'll send my son 20 years into the future. It's much better than dying here. And then didn't send Hiyori, and Hiyori just swam away and then got whatever she got for the next 20 years. But that was essentially what happened. Toki's go on without me. I'll die, whatever. Your father died, but we got to set this in motion. We have to set this to the future. So it could be something like that. It could be that this is Harold's wife or something. Which would make sense why she knows the room, because the room is supposed to be a secret. Do I think that the guards know about this room? I don't think that the guards would know the room. That and that would be the same context. I feel that even in the Marvel thing, it's not the normal people knew everything about the secret vault. It was a family secret that Odin and Loki knew about, that it was entrusted to them. Does Hiredin know about this? Sure. Does Loki know about this? Sure. Does Yarul know about this? I would give it to him because he's 400 goddamn years old. It's kind of hard to how many kings would you have to go through, right? Surely Yarul probably knows about this, but that's where I'm I don't know if that many people would know about it. And if they do, that tells you what their position is. And do I think the Holy Knights know? No. Could they figure it out? Sure. And then the other question mark is, would they've always been gunning for the giants, right? They want the giants. They want the Elbaf to be subjugated. Do they know that the island has the Gomu Gomu? Would that have changed what they talked about? It would almost make more sense that if they knew that the Gomu Gomu was here, or the secret treasure here, that would be a part of the negotiation. Hey, if you want to join the world government, give us that fruit, And then it's yeah, sure, take it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting.
Where I'm at right now, my crazy theory is that this is a Holy Knight, but they're not working with Emu or the other Holy Knights. I think this is a Holy Knight who is doing extra credit. Maybe they have a grudge against Harald. They wanted to mess him up specifically. They saw that he was maybe doing a good job, or maybe betraying the world government, and they alone wanted to F him up. And then they did all this meticulous research on how to perfectly destroy Harald's entire legacy. That is my thought train. There's nothing to back that up. By the way, it's all just headcanon. But that's kind of how I see it. Like you said, and I think that does fall under what you're saying as well, third party. It's this it doesn't fit in with the Holy Knights, because I think this guy's acting independently, which could go back to what Shanks said, right? Hey, if Harald is back home, I'd like to discuss something with him before it's too late. Maybe he overheard, of course, Emu or the Gorsei's plans, but the thing is that Emu, it sounded like he wanted Harald to succeed. Shamrock and all that, it sounds like they have a good perception of King Harald. So why would they set this guy up to failure? Why would they want to set him up to any extent? I think that could be maybe a one-off conversation. Like Shanks is walking down a hallway and he hears a Holy Knight talking to his family, saying, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna really mess up that giant. I'm finally gonna get payback on him." And then, of course, it's like I said, a one-man endeavor. a grudge against good old King Harald. That's kind of what I'm seeing right now, or that's what I'm speculating. What's up?
So if that's the Gomu Gomu, right?
Yeah.
The other thing that like contextually is important is yes, like what was the particular thing that Shanks said he wanted to warn him about, right? Was it Harold related? Was it Gomu Gomu related? Did Shanks know about that? Is that what he was wanting to talk about? Because that could fit in. There was something we couldn't talk about in the Holy Land. So if he's back home, I'd like to meet him and discuss it before it's too late. That could be a lot of things. That could be like the context of Harold being at the Holy Land would mean that he's trying to align himself with the world government. And that could be what Shanks couldn't talk to him about at the Holy Land. Like, hey, brother, don't do it. It's going to be bad for Elbaf. Or he could have been saying, do it because it'd be more dangerous. But the real thing that they're after is you have the Gomu Gomu, right? It could be that Shanks knew about that. And Shanks like would be warning him about that. Because what is something you can't talk about the Holy Land? Probably the Nika fruit. Right, that's another questionable thing is how much does Shanks know about that? This timeline is just 2 years before Shanks raids the ship and has the Gomu Gomu in his hands, right? So naturally, you kind of like think that he probably already knows about the Gomu Gomu to a certain extent. Like, at what point does he learn about it? Is it after this point, right? And the other thing about that is, I might be forgetting some context, but like whether or not they were, it leans itself that they were always looking for the Gomu Gomu. It was something that they were specifically targeting, or it was just lucky that they managed to get that ship with that. Like they happened to be tracking Cypher Pole, but like they were like, oh my god, it's a government ship, so they didn't realize. So then I brought up in the video that maybe they weren't like tracking specific ships or whatever, they're tracking specifically the Gomu Gomu, and then they happened to be on a government ship and they're like, shit, let's just keep going then. But point is that like it depends on the context of what Shanks is here for. But I kind of realized something. If Shanks is here, is his crew here? Do you think his crew is here too?
I think so. It brings up like the whole thing, like, oh, like what do the red-haired pirates do whenever Shanks goes to Marie-Joie? Like, do they wait outside? Yeah. Did they go inside? For Marie-Joie, I think they wait outside, but for here, I would like to imagine they're just chilling at a bar.
Yeah, because even like to give more context too, when Shanks says, yes, I met him Marie-Joie, and he says that to Scopper, like naturally you'd be like, wait, why were you at Marie-Joie? Right? Like if a pirate came up to you and said, yeah, just at the Holy Land, that's where I met him. It's like, kid, why were you at Law? Why were you at the
knows.
Yeah, and so that tells you that Scopper at least like know any child of prophecy, fate, whatever.
Yeah,
Scopper knows to a certain extent. But we talked about this on the other front where it's like during the twin brother conversation, right? Like how crazy it would be if Shanks was just masquerading with the Holy Knights this entire time. And while his crew, it's like, does his crew not know, or they just support that he's like reverse Batman? Like, like what kind of insane does he just go to the bathroom? Sorry guys, gonna go to the bathroom, and then just teleports away. Like, is that what's happening? But the reason I say that is because like maybe this, like, could it be that like his crew was just out here doing shenanigans? Like, I don't know, like is his crew just tracking people? Like they sensed the Haki and they just ended up here? Like, do they have was Yasop with the one that was like, I noticed someone running from the castle, right? Like, and they clocked who did it. I wonder if that's like the interesting context that we could have from this.
It could be that Shanks' crew, they're all like keeping tabs on Captain Kidd
14 years ago,
when
he's like, oh yeah, Kid is like 36. I forgot, right?
No, Kid's not that old.
Kid's what, 28?
I think he's the same age as Luffy.
No.
Yeah, okay, he's not the same age, but he's not that far.
23?
Yeah, he's 23.
He needs to put on sunscreen, bro. He's aging terribly.
Yeah, I was about to say the red-haired pirates, they're keeping close tabs on Kid's future. Whenever a kid is gonna make a comeback or do something, they destroy his life like Reverse Flash.
Yeah, that's the
Rumor has it that Shanks is the one who told Kaido where Kid was at. It wasn't a Pooh. It was actually just Shanks.
Yeah,
you might be wondering, why was Shanks' kingdom without a government? Well, it's because Shanks destroyed it just so that Kid would have an awful childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
those are the
Aizen
rumors,
of the
man.
series.
Yeah, it's the Aizen of the series, prepping Kid up for failure. So,
some would call him Groom Father Shanks.
Yeah.
I heard my friend had a theory.
Yeah.
About that. Yeah, my friend.
Just Groom Father Shanks. So, on to the last page of the chapter, we see young King Harald. We go even further back into the past, 109 years before the present. I'm glad they clarified that, by the way, because if they didn't say that, we'd be like, wait, is it 109 plus 14 or minus 4? I'm glad they just clarified. They talk about how in this era, the giants are one of the most feared things on the seas. And not just because of Dorian Brokey, but because of King Harald. This guy going around to human kingdoms, stomping people, destroying buildings, looking for pretty women, asking people, who's your god now? Like, it's pretty crazy, man. Harald, a little bit of a menace. I like it. I like this young Harald. He looks like a cool guy. Definitely a great guy to get a drink with at a bar. But with this flashback, what are you expecting? Right now, as we're speaking, Redon is posting GIF hints as to this next chapter already. And he says his mind's blown based on what happened. So, some big things are cooking up. Personally, man, I'm expecting Holy Knights, Carmel. I could see Dr. Correja even. Like, brother, there's so much we could tackle. Maybe even Louis Arnaud. We don't know when Bragman was exactly written. I made sure to go back and look it up. We don't know when Bragman was written, right? Maybe.
Yeah.
Louis Arnaud is here. There's so many things we could tackle. And hell, we could even meet a bunch of brand new characters we've never met before because it's inconsequential to an extent, right? 109, yeah, they're dead. Yeah, they passed away. You don't have to worry about them current day. Like, it's so fun. Maybe even we meet Mosa. What are you expecting from this King Harald flashback?
On the Mosa note, my best take, I feel like, is that Mosa was a character that was there when Shanks and Harald met at Merijois. And he witnessed something happen to Harald. And that was the thing that Loki said, if he was there, he would have leveled the whole place. I think that at the moment, that makes the most sense for me, because that would be the event that they were talking about couldn't have been the 14 years ago one, because Loki was there. There's no added information that would have made him do more worse of a thing. So like Mosa giving in the context of Holy Knights, giving in the context of whatever, and being placed at Merijois, that would be a pretty valuable take that Loki would need, honestly. And again, if that was the case, then Mosa would have had information on Shanks that again would have looped the conversation to validity, because it's also like Loki's tied to a tree and he's confiding in this snail that he never met, the person behind the snail, and it's like, why do I trust this person? What information do they give that I can validate, right? And one of the things that's really interesting is if Mosa was there, it would have mentioned that Shanks was at the Holy Land, and then that would have been that would have been a perfect reason for Loki to hate Shanks, because he doesn't need to think that Shanks is a celestial dragon. He's just like, he was there with my dad, and my dad's a world government dog. That means Shanks is a world government dog. That he could literally look at it that way, and that could have been the whole reason why he hates Shanks, because he's also siding with the people that killed Rocks, whatever, like that whole thing. And he could have learned that through Mosa. Also, I think he called him did he call him a rat? I forget if he called him a rat. But or is that Jay? I forget. But point is that I like Mosa being there for a lot of reasons. Because, and then also if Loki had that information that Shanks already had been Holy Land, that when Shamrock had said that what he did, then he can believe him 100% that he's telling the truth about all of this. Like, he's not lying, because Mosa also told me that Shanks was there, and that must have been the same time that they're talking about. But splitting off on the Mosa thing, and we're talking about the Louis are not thing, right? So whole video on Bragman, Louis are not, and talking about how at this point that video was a year old. So this is way before Elbaf. I was saying that like if Bragman and Louis are not gets mentioned on Elbaf, this theory like we have to take into consideration a lot more about like the ramifications of that. And in the video, the specific thing that it's a Nami video, but the specific thing that I'm highlighting is that this guy sparked a lot of inspiration of sailing the world. Louis Arnott, his story Bragman, or the story Bragman that he was a part of the group that created Bragman, was a romanticized adventure story. It was a like literally romanced on. That's literally on the book, romantic fiction. And my point of that is like it's like Roger, his story, his execution that inspired so many characters that we know to the path that they currently are on. And I was pointing out that like Ace's right-hand man, Oda right-hand man, Deuce, Oda highlighted that was his Bible. Bragman was his Bible, and in terms of travel, he learned so much from it and stuff like that to be a pirate, but not a pirate. He wanted to be an adventurer. But like that's where Roger came in, and that everything that Louis Arnott stood for was kind of bastardized because it got villainized and demonized by Roger's story, and everything that like Roger was doing, Louis Arnott was doing, but like now it just became like evil to do it, and there was a whole discussion. And I was talking about the potential that there's characters that influenced Roger, and I was like, what if the Bragmen were those characters? What if they just they were the pirates before Roger and Rocks, and they were the ones that inspired their generation, and they were also possibly the parents to some very important characters. One of them could be Nami. I was saying that Nami could be from the Bragmen, which is, you know, like if you think about Louis Arnott, what did he write? He wrote like a log book of navigating the world, and that would be insanely valuable for Nami. In theory, Louis Arnott made it all the way to Elbaf. That's further than most pirates that we know, and so you got to wonder, how far did Louis Arnott go? Was he the person who went the furthest before Roger? And that's where it's like, dude, that character and the characters around him, they're legends. Where is Oda going to place their legends? And that's when I was like, yeah, the timeline's super interesting. And I was placing them. So if like, you know, Roger is like, how old is he by God Valley? Like 20 years old. God Valley is about 40 years ago. That means that like, you know, his predecessor could have been around 100 years ago. Like we could maybe see them in this flashback. Yeah. The legends of the Bragmen could be in this, this super flashback, because it's a double flashback. Glad that we got it validated, because imagine we just jump into like Harald young while we just saw Harald getting stabbed. People would create oh my god, the time dilation's crazy. Just yesterday he was just 45 years old or something like that, right? Because he didn't get the time. But he writes at the same time, what's it called? At the same time, the royal ship from the land of giants only enhanced the fear the world felt towards Elbaf. Wait, what did the TCB say? TCB said something different, I feel like.
It was close, I would say.
Okay. Let me compare it again, because I was reading the wrong lines. Okay, so the Viz says, for that we must go far back in time to 109 years before the present, when the question of what is the most frightening thing on the sea would elicit a unanimous answer. The giant pirate crew were the most widely feared figures of the day, which is the giant pirates, right? So like, and the point is that they took the reputation of pirates and made it scary. Like they were the scary thing. But Louis Arnott, he was a traveler, and also that's a banned thing. But if you're sailing on the seas in tandem with the giant pirates, they're just breaking building by roughhousing with each other, like then yeah, like they could take the onus off it, and then Louis Arnott could just pass as like a normal adventurer, just goes around looking at places, right? So it is kind of interesting. I don't know how much more of what we know can exist in Harold's flashback. But another interesting one is this would be the timeline where like Morley is imprisoned. Morley escaped 100 years ago or something like that and created Impel Down level 5.5. Or no, Morley was put in prison 100 years ago. I forget. I think no, they broke free 100 years ago. So like that's another thing. Was Morley on this crew? Like, was Morley involved here? Was Morley in prison because of Harold? There's a lot of different things. Did Morley know Harold? That'd be another one. That'd be an interesting thing too. So like as far as characters we do know, that's one of them that could be involved here because I'm pretty sure
great grandfather.
Wait, who could be whose great grand?
Like we can meet Luffy's great grandfather.
True.
Like Garp's dad.
Is Kong the sitting fleet admiral at this time? How old is Kong? Yeah, so Morley's 160. So he would be 60 divided by 3, effectively 30. So is over 100 years before the start of the story, Morley was a wanted pirate who was imprisoned at Impel Down. So Morley is a giant over 100 years ago. Were there other pirate crews, or was Morley on the giant pirates? And were they captured and put in Impel Down because they were on Harold's crew? It could be that. It could be we find out that Morley was on Harold's crew. It could be that the person that Harold is kicking is Morley. Nah, that's probably not the case, but like there is a interesting crossroads of what we find out. Like we'll probably see Harold go to like Goa Kingdom and then like salivate on a rock, right? And then that's where Stelly gets the inkling that they melt rocks with their spit, right?
Could be that, or just Stelly had some crazy bedtime stories,
Yeah.
Like the Kappa.
Yeah, but all stories, not saying that they're all true, but they all have a source.
Yeah, like the Kappa butthole monster.
If Harold here is acting like this, he looks like kind of guy. He's so evil. His spit is toxic. He just like does.
I like how hung up you are on that one line. I feel like the Stelly rock line. I feel like whenever we talk about giants, you always bring it up.
Yeah, I just want to know what the fuck happened because
it's one of those things that could be explained. Like Harold could do that. No, he could, but it's one of those things that we could go the entire series not knowing, and every chapter until One Piece ends is us bringing up this stupid Stelly rock line.
Well,
I love it. No, I love it too. By the way, I think it's funny. It's whenever you bring it up, it's almost like adorable. It's like, oh yeah, there goes Par talking about Stelly's rock. Yeah, there he goes, my guy.
Because like the when we got like Kokoyashi Village, they were like, oh,
that's like
100 times, 10 times
your
stronger
version
than
of
man.
my Eustace Kid. Just whenever somebody mentions Kid, I'm like, oh, Conqueror's Haki Kaido said it. For you, it's Stelly and rocks melting.
It's just curious because like the rumors that they had for the fishmen, it's like it seems like they would give them the spit one and the disease one, but they gave it to the giants. I'm like, damn, like that's crazy because like the fishmen had like scary, but it was positive still. They're like, and then the thing is like you can see where it's sourced from, right? Because like if they were to say like, wait, what fishmen do you know? How do you know that they're 10 times stronger? Well, like a famous story would be Tom, who like launched a warship at them, picked up a ship with the one hand and threw it, right? Like then it's like, damn, fishmen are strong. But outside of Tom, the whole point of Tom also was like, there's not that many fishmen back then, like just like with humans, right? Like they were largely like slaves or whatever, if they were the case, in Marriage Raw. But like, where did the rumors come? Oh, Tom threw a ship. That made headlines. Okay, so now the world thinks that, fishmen are these monstrous creatures that just you can't put down. Bullets won't even stop them. And it's like, yeah, Tom went through bullets to stop the world government and whatever. But like, and now I want to, because like Oda does like give us where the rumors come from sometimes, and this is one where it's like, I want to know where the saliva one comes from. And Harald is, I'm waiting for it. It has to be Harald. I think Harald spits on something, and then he sees, because like he sees how his actions reverberate towards the racism towards giants, and then he owns it. He's like, damn it, it's all my fault. And then he tears off his horns, right? Because that's another thing. We have to validate that too, right? Like, why did he think it was logical for him to tear off the horn as some peace treaty? Our earlier assumption was that he did that for Vegapunk to experiment on his horns, right? But like, that's way later. That's way later. Because, well, actually, Vegapunk, it's not way later, but it is much later. You know, Mads is like 30 years ago, right?
Yeah, about 30 years ago, yeah.
Yeah. So
if you had to put like
that.
one character in the King Harold flashback, who do you think we'll see?
Holy Knights make sense.
Okay, like new ones or old ones?
Old ones.
Okay.
Like, actually, no, I'm confused because it's confusing because we don't know the age stuff. Like, how old is Summers? How old is Gunko? You know, like that kind of stuff changes it a lot. Like, do they age normally, or are they immortal, or are they like the Gorosei? Because we saw a Garling age, but like I don't know how this shit works. Is it that once you're the Gorosei it stops? Right? We don't know how old the Gorosei. Because then if I'm saying old character, then it's just the only ones we have are the Gorosei, right? So then it would have to be a different Holy Knight. Which, why would that be relevant, really? So then it would have to be like a new character, unless it's the Gorosei, right?
Yeah. Or it'd be really cool if we had different Gorosei members. Like, imagine we have Saturn, but like instead of Jupiter, we have Venus. Wait, no, Venus is already here. We have Pluto. No, we already have Pluton. We have XB75.
It would just be a different like family name, right? Like, it'd be Somers Saturn or Somers Jupiter.
Yeah, but I mean, Oda would probably make like another family name that lines up with some kind of planetary system, right? Just to fit the thematic. Ooh, or maybe there's like a bunch of different Gorosei members and they all have a different theme. Like, oh, here's Beerus. Here's Vados. Or, you know, he brings in like Dragon Ball naming schemes.
Yeah, Beelzebub. That's a good one.
Azazel.
Yeah.
Here's Lucifer. No, I think in general, like, I think we can meet so many fun characters. Honestly, if there was one character I want to put my money on, I do want to say we're going to meet Kureha, man. I feel like Kureha is a shoo-in. Just the fact that, like...
40-year-old Kureha? She'd be 30 here.
Yeah, just the fact that, like, Chopper is listening into this flashback. If they mention Kureha, bro, that'd be fun.
Kureha is Hyruden's mother.
Nah, or Kureha's like the doctor on Harold's ship, or the doctor of Elbaf. Yeah, it's just like, it doesn't have to be big, just like a fun tie-in.
What if we find out that Kureha is a giant?
That'd be cool too.
Because like, it's kind of...
I'm down for any Kureha theory. I mean, apparently her laugh is the gehehe or something. That's like a play on like a old anime about a witch. So honestly, like I could see Kureha being a holy knight even.
Because Kureha, like, as Oda actually set her up to be a giant, because he literally goes, a human's lifespan is 139 or something like that. Oh, but Kureha's 141. So like, ooh, and it's like he is, that in and of itself saying, like, he's saying this is a human potential, this is the max, but Kureha's 141. Is that not saying that, like, oh, maybe she's not a human then? I feel like that's a super simple...
Yeah, that is why I like the Kureha, like, holy knight theories. I could see her being like a celestial dragon descendant. Maybe she's gonna be a holy knight that confronts Harald. Or she could just be like a person on Elbaf even. And then because we don't know how time works in Elbaf, maybe something weird happens there. I feel like there's a couple of different explanations, but yeah, in general, man, bring in the Dr. K. And I'm not talking about Kanye either.
I think, because the other thing about Kureha is, like, when we first got Elbaf, Like
Yeah.
the first real Elbaf picture outside of the Lego room, that reminded me of Drum Kingdom. And the exact thing that Kureha set up, which is the rope to the top, traveling like that. Kureha set that up in a lot of ways for her own living thing. So it's like, it's
Yeah, and then
interesting. I mean, that existed before, but
yeah, and I
like,
was talking about it beforehand too, but like, we have the whole thing where we had Little Garden, Nami got sick at Little Garden, and then they went to Dr. Kureha to cure it. So maybe it'll be like that could be like the tie-in there, like the parallel. Like maybe somebody gets sick and then they go to Dr. Kureha to cure it. Like I think that could kind of fit, but we'll see. I do like the whole Chopper, Scopper, Kureha tie-in. And of course, like, Chopper's here. They learned how to harm the Holy Knights. It's nothing that Chopper can do. So, I mean, what else is Chopper going to provide? Well, I mean, drop Kureha in here, man. Name drop her ass, and then Chopper's going to go ballistic.
Chopper's rumble balls are based off of Kureha's research.
Yeah.
The max transformation he gets out of his giant form. Is that not suspicious? That's kind of suspicious. The Kureha's research was something that led Chopper to gigantification, right? Like that's kind of sus now that I think about it. That like, how did she? What was she researching?
Yeah, Kureha. She even knows about the Will of D, brother.
Yeah, I brought that up in my Chopper video, but I didn't bring it up in that. I brought it up from the flip context of like she knows a decent. I forgot which video I actually brought it up. Was it the Chopper video or something else? But yeah, it was basically this like how Chopper like every step of the way he's learning from these other people. So I didn't bring it up in that context, I don't think. But when you think about it, it's like, yeah, it led Chopper to gigantification. Something that like Caesar said is like you can't just take a pill for. Enter Chopper. It's like very interesting. And it was devil fruit manipulation too. So that's also interesting. Kureha's research involved devil fruit manipulation. Wavelength is what like I think the translation was. So interesting. Yeah, I didn't snipe Kureha for it, but the more and more I think about it, Kureha having a Elbaf like connection and it's introduced here would be amazing. Amazing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But with that being said, though, y'all, we are gonna end things off right here. Par, do you have any last fleeting thoughts before we head out?
See you on 11:53 because apparently our minds are about to be blown away, and there's no better place to get. Oh, I was gonna say blown up. I was gonna get cut it. I was gonna say knocked up on the knock up stream, and then spoiled. And if you want to get spoiled on but then I said, hey, fleeting thoughts. Yeah. See you guys next week. Yay.
Peace out, guys.